At the end of the show, like you might expect to hear me doing a monologue. It's the beginning, and you've tuned in to Playing in Traffic with your host Louis Lee, Ray Guarino, special guest Mark Greene from Cars Yeah, and we're here to entertain you and maybe answer some questions about cars. We can tell a few lies, tell a few stories,
Yeah.
and have a lot of fun.
Tell about the ones that got away.
Yeah.
So, Mark,
Yes, sir.
you are the hardest working man in podcasts in the automotive industry.
Well, thank you. Maybe the craziest working man.
Hey, listen, every day you have a guest for
Yep.
how many days? 5 days a week?
5 days a week, 21, 22 days a month, and 200 something days a year. And yeah, this morning, I just interviewed this afternoon my 2,112th guest in 8 years. So
Oh, God bless.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, time flies by when you're doing something you love.
Well, that's exceptionally true. And the guy I interviewed today, I interviewed a guy who works at Summit Racing. And also he's a president on the board of directors for Hot August Nights. And I'm doing some promotions for them this year with that event coming up. And he said, how many, I told him what number guest he was. He goes, wait a minute, what? And he said, how do you do that? And I said, well, you just get up early and you put one foot in front of the other and you keep doing it. I have a routine. I have a process in this whole thing that keeps it going. You and I, Louis, were talking before the show started about that process a little bit and how you manage your day and manage your time, because I'm pretty much a one-man band. I have some help with editing, but other than that, my goal back in my Griot's Garage days was my next job would have no employees and no commuting. So I commute down the hall, wear out my slippers instead of my Michelins, and I don't have to deal with anybody but me. And at this point in my life, I like that.
Yeah, it doesn't true.
Lots to be said for that. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Oh man, we really appreciate you. If everybody, we're live on YouTube and Facebook. So if anybody wants to check out Cars Yeah, you can go to carsyeah.com and check out all of his podcasts from eight years of
8 years. Yeah. Rick Cole was my first guest. He's the guy that started auctions at Monterey during Car Week. Well, back then was Car Weekend when there was only 3 days. Now it's Car Weekend, and the Pasadena concourse starts the weekend before. So now it's the week and a half, Car Week and a half, something like that. But Rick Cole was nice enough to be brave and be my first guest. And I'm still seeing downloads of show one. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now I listened to one of the podcasts. I think it was 1551. It was the best one I've heard of yours total.
Was that Louis?
I think his name's Louis too. Yeah.
Was that who that? I try to memorize all the guests by their numbers. It's like license plates. Yeah. Well, that's cool. I tell you, I run into people and they say, "Oh, I was number 975," or I have one guy who wanted to be 917 because he was into Porsches, not Porsche Racing 917, or the 356, Porsche 356, or 911. So, yeah, people that want to be those special numbers. So sometimes. Yeah, I've even got a few that want to be 3,000, but I say, you know what, that's still a little ways away. I don't think I'm going to commit to that quite yet. But
put them to work, make them get the guest in between.
Well, maybe I should start charging for those special numbers. That'd be a way to scale the business a little bit. If you want to be 2,500, you got to pay a little extra. But no, none of my guests pay to be on my show. I'm here to promote them and their businesses. But you were great, Louis. And I'll tell you something. I want to thank you because you are so awesome. I post every day on social media, my guests, and you always repost my shows. And I'm like, you're almost as good as my mom because she does the same thing. So I want to thank you for that. It's very kind of you. It's all about helping each other and promoting each other. So you're a sweetheart.
Oh, appreciate it.
Don't let that sweetheart face fool you. He can hit you with a slipper just as hard as a mom can.
Yeah. Well, I imagine he can. Yeah. It's always good to be respectful of your elders, right?
Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh no, I really appreciate it. I enjoyed myself coming on your show, and I appreciate you staying dedicated to the industry. I mean, a lot of people jump in, jump out, and so
it's I'm a bit of a bulldog, and sometimes I always said, when you're digging a hole, sometimes you need to know when to stop so you can still get out before you dig yourself too deep. But when I started this, I had a 6-month commitment to myself, maybe 12. Can I start to make some money through sponsorships? Are there other opportunities to scale? And I got into it. And I think about month 3, somebody contacted me and said, can I advertise on your show? And I went, oh my gosh, it might work.
They came to you. That's great.
Which was good. But it's like anything. I mean, you've got to build a track record. You got to build trust. And especially when you're interviewing people, they need to trust you, because if they don't, then you got a rocky start. In fact, when I started this, I used to call my shows interviews, and I learned very quickly people do not like that word. It reminds them of job interviews. It reminds them of first dates, maybe, or whatever. So I changed that word to conversations, and that changed the whole philosophy and the idea.
Maybe that's my problem getting guests. I'll say interviews.
Yeah.
Don't say interviews. Well, you've got another challenge, because you're visual too.
Yeah.
You know, at least like a lot of people at the beginning, you're not going to videotape this, are you? You know, they're worried about how they look. They're worried about their backgrounds. They're worried about how they're going to, am I going to pick my nose or something, whatever.
Yeah.
And so you got that challenge. So, you know, then you've got to, I think, maybe help train some people or convince them or ensure them that they're going to be okay. Right?
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So it's just, we're all a work in progress, right? Every day we try to learn to be a little bit better. And it's all about mastering your craft. And no matter whether you're a builder, a painter, a collector, a podcaster, videographer, YouTuber, you're honing that craft every day. And if you don't keep working on that diligently and act like a professional, then we've seen that people will start a podcast, they do 6 or 7 and go, oh, I'm not making money yet. I'm like, 6 or 7.
Yeah. Well, you know, years back, I was chasing money all the time. Anything I wanted to get into, I was chasing the money. And when I said, you know what, I'm gonna stop chasing the money and just do stuff I like to do and stuff I want to do, it became a whole different feeling. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I've been doing this for almost 8 years, and it'll be September. And I get a couple sponsors here and there, but it don't matter if I do or not, because I'm still doing what I like. I have all my friends come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got a good group of steady people to come on all the time. If it was just our main group coming on every week, it's that get into the garage and talk to your boys. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, you know.
You hit on something very important that I have heard over and over again from people who start their own businesses. And I interviewed a gentleman this morning who has a business, 503 Motoring in Beaverton, Oregon, successful business. They started doing film on cars and then selling cars, buying and selling cars, parts, high-end wheels, suspension, and so forth. And he said the same thing. He said, if you're just going to do something for money, you'll probably not be successful. There's got to be other elements in it. Of course, you need to make an income and be smart about the finances. If you're no good at finances, find some people who are and have them help you. But he said, it's when you stop chasing the money. And I kind of found that way for me. After about 6 months, I had a couple sponsors and it still wasn't making what I wanted. But I thought, you know, I like this. This is fun. I'm providing a service. And for me, I focused on my mantra. Every day I do that, which is inspiring automotive enthusiasts. And I thought, if I can do that through interviewing people, talking with people, having them inspire others, I'm hopefully inspiring others. That's what you do through these talks, inspire others. Then people will feel that, kind of get your groove, your vibe. Yeah. And they go, okay, he's not here just to take from me. And then when you get into the sponsorship game, you've got to realize, because I was on the other side. When I worked at Griot's Garage, I was there for 20 plus years. I had people call me all the time, racers wanting me to sponsor them. You know, I used to say, look, if I have money to sponsor a racer, it's going to be me. I'm going to sponsor myself in my racing because I like to race, but it's expensive. But more so, I would always ask these people, well, if you have a magazine, you want me to advertise in it, how is that going to help me? Show me that. Tell me that. Promise me that. Well, people are going to see you. What people? Do you even know who I sell to? Have you asked me that? So they're chasing the ad, chasing the money versus finding out who I am.
Right.
and then figuring out, do I have what you need? So for me, I try to do that with my sponsorships. I try to say, well, what do you know, I always ask, what's your goal? More sales. Okay. Well, beyond that, like more sales of what and when and how and to whom? And then I can say, do I talk to those people? Do I offer them a solution to their problem? And that's what it comes back to. And that's what I'm hoping happens with Cars Yeah, is people have an issue or a problem. One of them is they have a career, but it's not in automotive, and they want to be in automotive. So if I can offer them ideas by interviewing people like you guys that can show them, oh, I didn't know people did that for a living. People get paid for that.
Yeah.
So, and what's funny, Louis, is when I was a kid, my dad said, you know, what do you like? And I said, well, I like cars. And he said, what do you like about cars? And I said, well, I like keeping cars looking clean. He said, well, what about washing and detailing cars? I said, okay. And he said, well, why don't you go do mine? You see where we're going here. Okay. So I went out and spent the day cleaning his car, and he came out and he said, okay, well, how much time did you spend? What do you think your time's worth? So, you know, here's $10. And I went, $10? Whoa. Light bulb goes on, you know?
Yeah.
And he said, well, you seem to like that. Why don't you have a paper route? Why don't I help you make a flyer? You put it in your paper. You have 64 customers, pitch 64 people. And if you could just get 5 of them, you can make $50. So he put that thought in my head of taking what I love and creating a business. And within 6 months, I quit my paper route and started detailing cars. And then you start to learn about what it costs and, you know, money, equity, and all that kind of thing. So you go, okay, I have to buy some supply. Like he bought me my first supplies. He goes, look, I'll front you your business, you know, costs up front. Thanks, Dad. You know, yeah, I mean, he saw what he was trying to do. You know, he's trying to show me. My dad had his own business his whole life. He was an architect. And I did that until, well, through college. Paid for my college, was detailing cars. And I'll tell you something funny. I was one of these kids that was a good kid. I never got into drugs. I was so afraid of disappointing my parents. But I always had money because I was detailing cars from the time I was 14. And
Right.
I remember sometime one day, a kid, he was kind of new to our school, and he said, hey, you have any, you know, pot? I go, what? He goes, well, I don't sell pot. He goes, well, you always seem to have money. Like, you know, you got a nice car and a surfboard on the top and stuff. I figured you're a drug dealer. I go, no, but I'll wash your car. You know,
Yeah. I'll keep you clean.
yeah. But that idea of taking your passion and figuring out a way to wrap it into what you do, that's the secret sauce to life, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Right.
I tell you what, there was days that I was real down on, you know, whatever business or just life, you know what I mean? And Thursday night pops in and the fellas come on and it could be one word to just get you back into where you need to be. You know what I mean? And that's what I appreciate with all our guys that always come on, are regulars. And then the guests that come on, you know, like I said, they can come on and say one word and get you back into the groove. And it's like, you know, other people are going through the same thing I'm going through, or, you know, so it turns into a more of a therapy for me.
Yes.
And I wish I could share it with more people. You know what I mean? Like, other than car people, just share it in general. You know what I mean? But
well, you can, because you have a voice, but it goes back to that listening and understanding what someone's concerns are. I have a couple friends, and I've had this happen over time, that have reached out to me and they're trying to find a job. Either they lost a job or they just hate what they're doing and they want to go do something new, and they like car stuff. And so they say, Mark, your whole life you played with cars. I mean, you know, for 23 years or so, I was at Grayo's Garage. I was in the car world, getting to do all that. 8 years now, close to 9, I've been doing this. So just today, I had one of these guys for 11 months. He's been trying to find a job. He's not been successful. He worked in the car industry for a long time, but he's trying to do something completely different. But he's got a 30+ year track record of doing one thing. And now everyone just looks at that and goes, well, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for this. And he's trying to convince people, I can do that too. I learned these skill sets on this job that carry over. But that's hard for employers to understand sometimes. And I could tell he sent me another job he applied for. It wasn't anything even really, I don't think he even wanted to do it, but he said, well, I got passed up on another one. And I could just tell he was down. And so I called him today, and I had just had a conversation with someone else who had been on my show, my podcast, who was calling to thank me. He goes, ever since I was on your podcast, my business has exploded. All these people are now calling me, and I've got more work than I could do. I just wanted to thank you. I said, wow, that's really rewarding for me that reach happened for you, and it expanded your business. And I went, you know what? I have a friend who I think could do what you're doing if he had some training. Would you talk to him and give him some encouragement? And I said, maybe even he could come and help you if you have so much work to do. Time to hire somebody. When he goes, no, I don't want to hire anybody. This is why I got into this. I don't want to do. He does valuations of cars for people, goes to collections and writes up very detailed reports. He went and trained on this. But the long story short here is I called my other friend. I said, hey, you came up in my mind today. Have you ever thought about this career path? And I started telling him why I thought he was good for that. Because I said, you're very personable. You're very empathetic. You're very honest. He's one of these guys that when you meet him, you feel like he's your friend immediately. He's just always happy. And I think he's got 7 or 8 kids. I don't know how you could be. I'd be worn out. Not that I'd be sad with kids, but I've got 2 of my own. But you know what I mean? That's a big bird. Not burden. It's a big handful of responsibility is a better word. And I said, but your personality fits this really well. And I could tell during that conversation, his mood went from a 2 to a 9. And he just goes, I want to thank you, man. You really sparked something in me today. And I said, oh, well, that's good. I gave you an idea of something that might work for you. And he goes, not only that, but you just told me
you're thinking about
that something's coming and I'm thinking about him. And I told him this whenever he misses a job that he has an interview for. I said, all you did was dodge a bullet that you didn't know was going to hit you right here. Because when somebody denies you a job that you want, I always say that's because they see it's not for you before you see it. And it would not work for you. And that's the only way you can look at it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like you say, you get depressed. Like some days we all have. I mean, I have times I go, oh man, this is a huge amount of work. And, I've got to find 5 more people for next week. And I don't have time to just go run off and do whatever I want. And then I have to kind of bring myself back up and say, well, wait a minute. What if I was doing that job? Would I be happier?
Right.
I don't think so.
Right.
It's kind of like when you're ready to quit, go back and remember why you started. It's like restoring a car. You're all excited. You get an old car. You're all jazzed. You start working on it. You get working on it. And then after about 6 months, you're like, oh my gosh, this car's it's beating me up. I didn't know there was all this rust in the frame. But you have to stop and go back to the excitement you had. And I think this relates nicely to something that I was telling a young person I met the other day. He was frustrated because he goes, I've always wanted a cool car and I can't afford one. And I said, well, do you have a car? He said, yeah. I said, you know how many people in the world wish they had any car?
Right.
It's a paradigm shift, right?
Yep.
And you could see in his eyes, all of a sudden he kind of went, okay, I see what you're doing. But my mom used to do that with my sister and I. We would say, oh, I want another Matchbox car, another car. I really want that. My mom would say, you have 20 cars. What you were excited about those? Why are they not exciting you anymore? Why don't you be grateful that you have 20? Because, you and I grew up in an era where, there's Chinese kids starving, eat all your food, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we all have eating disorders now. But you know what I mean? So it's a paradigm shift. It's helping people see something in a different perspective. And, hopefully some of the words I've said tonight might trigger that with somebody. Some things you say to people might trigger that in somebody. And all it takes is that little, it's like being nice to somebody, the barista. Wow, you have a beautiful smile. Instead of being on your phone, yeah, cappuccino, sure, right. Yep. And you don't even look at the person. But if you take a moment and smile and say, wow, your smile is beautiful. Man, your eyes are awesome. Or, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Just that little bit.
Yeah.
I have a little funny story. When my kids were younger, we go to McDonald's or wherever, and I would order and get the stuff, and then I would say, okay, Brian, thanks, or Carol, hey, can I
say their name.
Yeah, and my kids would say, Dad, especially if it was somebody that they knew from school, how do you know them? How do you know their name? How do you know who that is? I was like, well,
It's
it
right
really
here.
wasn't too hard. They're wearing a name tag.
Yeah.
But better than that is how they look back at me. Like, how do you know my name? Like,
Right. You took the time to notice.
Yeah.
wearing a name tag. It's like,
Right.
but they get all freaked out.
You know,
So-
my father-in-law, my wife's dad was awesome. He was a 33-year Marine. And, you know, he commanded troops. He served in Vietnam multiple times. I mean, all this stuff. And he was a master at de-escalation because he learned that in the Marines, how to de-escalate a situation, because you don't want to escalate a situation in the military. You want to calm people down, and especially troops that are being fired upon or being stressed over something. You know, they have to get this plane loaded. It's about to take off, whatever. And he taught me some real skill sets. And what you just said, Ray, was one of them. Is when you're speaking to somebody, you look at them, you ask, what's your name? Oh, Ray. Yeah, Ray. I really need your help today. You know, the room that you guys gave me for this hotel, it just isn't quite what we expected. My wife's really disappointed. And I know we paid for a certain kind of room, but is there any opportunity for us to get a little nicer room so that this trip means something for her? And I would assume that you're empowered to help people because of your position here. I mean, I would sit here. We all went to Hawaii once and we were given the crap rooms. And I learned a lesson. You don't ever check in early because they give you the worst rooms, because they save the best rooms for the people that are late and tired, that are really angry because their flight was bad. And you don't want to have to deal with them if you can't upgrade their room, if you've given all the good rooms away. So he's always said, yeah, wait and check in later. Interesting trick. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But he had this skill set, and we ended up getting nice rooms. And it's really not about tricking anybody. It's about proper communication and polite, because we've all been at the airport when that poor ticket counter person is getting yelled at by that guy who is going to miss his connection, and you're standing like, it's not her fault. It's raining.
Right.
You know, why behave that way? So it's learning those personal skill sets. But you know what it comes back to, you guys? I think it's just being polite. And I think the world needs a lot more politeness right now. It seems like after COVID and the economy and whatever's going on in your world, there seems to be so much anger going on. And if you can just enlighten think about this. If one person is having a horrible day, horrible week, horrible month, horrible year, and you encounter them and you escalate them to that next level where they just lose it.
Yep.
But what if you brought them up above that by helping them or just being nice, because no one's ever nice to them?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't take much.
No,
But
it really doesn't.
But it does take an approach, and it does take diligence, and it takes patience sometimes. It's like being on the phone with somebody. Think about supply chain issues right now. You get so angry. You know, I ordered a piece of furniture. I waited 6 months for it, and it got here and it was damaged. And
no.
You're just like, but am I going to yell at the lady on the phone because the UPS guy dropped it and drove over it with a truck? People will, right?
Yeah.
But why? You know, she's got 10 other people yelling at her. So why not be the sweet one?
Yeah.
So she likes you. She'll help you.
So yeah, get your new product.
Well, hopefully. Yeah, it is what it is. First world problems. There's bigger things going on that are much worse around the world. You think of the poor people in Ukraine, what's going on there. And you just have to kind of give a reality check to yourself. This is not a big deal, right?
Yeah. You know, I didn't realize, like, when you think of other countries, you don't think of them having neighborhoods like our neighborhoods. You know, in my mind, I think of, you know, another country to, you know, so when you see it on the news that they're bombing
neighborhoods,
I'm like, that could be our neighborhood.
There's you got to think about that. And it's horrific. And I think it even happens in this country. We get stereotyped into groups. I grew up in Southern California. I was, believe it or not, a long-haired surfer when I had hair. And I had cousins that live in Texas that were farmers. My dad grew up in Texas as a farmer. And I remember the first time they came to visit, and my cousin said, okay, we got to go to the beach and see all the girls running around in bikinis, and all the blonde haired, he had this whole vision of what I grew up in San Diego, all of San Diego was like. And I'm like, that's just like a sliver on the coast. You get inland and you get inner city, you get Chula Vista or somewhere more Hispanic groups of people that very different culture than the culture out here. You just go down to Pacific Beach or Lucadia, and it's very more laid back and so there's all these slivers, but I think in the end we're all alike. We just want to have families and do things. But how'd we get off on this tangent?
Well, on that note, I just mentioned it at dinner tonight. Beach Boys song came on, and Brian Wilson just turned 80 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So the guy who was singing about bikinis and surfboards and fun, now he's 80.
80. Wow. Well, I think he's fortunate to still be with us. He's had some big challenges in his road, but what a creative man. Oh my gosh. And think of the joy that guy's brought with all those wonderful good vibrations and Pet Sounds album. And because I was a musician growing up, so I always liked playing and listening to music. And I remember when some of those songs came out, it was like, what are all those sounds?
He is a musical genius. There's plenty of stuff on YouTube about him. And I love watching the studio versions of how they put the songs together with the studio musicians that were on the records. Beach Boys weren't on the records. And, just the best of the best. And he was quite a taskmaster, but he got it was like Frank Zappa, just of a different, version, and knew what he wanted and got it at all costs, no matter how many takes it took. And he had vision. Right. He just had that vision, which was,
he was a perfectionist. If you watch some, and I've watched some of those, the movies aside, because they're always augment and, change the truth. But if you watch the real pictures of him in studio, I mean, he would drive people probably to the brink of chaos. Like, I give up. I can't play these chords anymore. My fingers are bleeding, to quote John Lennon. I got blisters on my fingers.
The good thing was he had professional studio musicians who got paid scale or more, and they're like, all right, you want me to do it again? I'll do it again.
I'll sit here and work. Yeah. But he had if you think of those, it's like the Beatles, some of the music they created in their later albums where they really got into some different instruments and noises and sounds and things. And they didn't have what we have today. I mean, any of the three of us, and I don't know about you guys with your musical talent, but mine's pretty much drifted away. But I could go on and use my software and probably create a song.
Yeah.
It sounded maybe not good, but you know what I mean? Because we have these, we could get by. I mean, even on my little cell phone, you can, okay, G chord, A chord, now a drum beat and a piano riff, and I just made a song.
So, Lewis, we should tell Mark he's breaking the rule. We're not supposed to talk about music or food until we get after 10 o'clock.
After show.
That's the after show.
The late night
show. Jump on. Oh, yeah, you should see how the conversations go around.
Well, cars. We got to talk about cars.
Yeah, so tell us about your Porsche, your turbo game going on.
Oh, well, the turbo game is gone. I don't know how many people know this, but if you follow cars, you'll know about what I affectionately call my Orange Crush, which is a car I found about 13 years ago. 87 Porsche Turbo, very rare car in the sense that this car was special ordered by a dealer, a Mr. 410s in Illinois, who saw a Porsche press car, an 86 Turbo in Europe that Porsche painted a very unique non-Porsche, non-standard color, 3-stage pearl metallic.
Nice.
And he saw this and went,
tourism commercial.
He saw this and he said, I want cars that color. And Porsche said, no, that's too complicated. We're not doing that. And he begged them and begged them. Long story short, they said, if you order 3 cars, we'll do it. Well, he didn't have 3 customers, but he told Porsche he did. And so he got the 3 cars done. One was the slant nose option, which was I think it was a $16,000 or $18,000 option in 87. Huge money. These cars, I think, stickered for around 65 starting, and then you added options. But he got the paint to sample option, which is a well-known term in the Porsche world where you can have a car painted, not any color, but a paint to sample color, a special color. Nowadays, they charge $11,000 for that. I contacted Porsche and said, would you paint a Porsche the orange that my car is? And they said, that will be $25,000.
Wow.
and we can't guarantee we would even approve it. We have to take about a 9-month test period. And I went, I like it, but not that much. So at any rate, he got these 3 cars and he sold them. Mine came from the original owner, and I've had it for about 13 years. And I use it. You know, I love Porsches, been a Porsche guy my whole life. And I like to drive my cars. So I drove it a lot and enjoyed it. But over the last 3 years or so, prices have just, well, the used car market, we all see what's going on there. The classic car market, the Porsche market, which I follow, is just gone insane. And there's a whole probably show discussion on why we think that's happened. At any rate, I got to a point with the car in January where I said, you know what? I'm just not enjoying this because I'm so nervous because the value of my car is the color and the fact that it's never been damaged.
I recommend Nature Made
So
by.
it's all original, unique color. It's a turbo. It was the fastest car of the day back in the day. Now a Toyota Camry would probably beat it. So I started thinking, I want to get a car that I will drive again and I'll enjoy and I'll not freak out. I mean, this car got to a point where I wouldn't leave it parked anywhere. I was so afraid somebody would be backing up in their big Escalade and look in the mirror and not see it, because cars have gotten huge, right? They're big. You put my Porsche, my old Porsche, I said my Porsche, it's not mine anymore. You put the turbo next to a new 911 and it looks like a little pedal car.
I recommend Nature Made by.
Yeah.
So anyway, I decided it was time to let it go. And I consulted with probably a dozen experts, Porsche experts. And I said, what's the best way to go about this? Well, if you don't know somebody who specifically will give you what you believe the car's worth, then bring a trailer. That's the only place to go. And Randy Nonnenberg was guest number 43 for me. So he was one of the first 100. And so I contacted him and said, here's what I'm thinking about doing. He goes, we're the best venue. What else is he going to say? But so I went through this process and then I said, how else should I approach this? Because I'm very emotional about my cars. And bring a trailer, as we all know, if you follow it, there's that long list of keyboard warriors. And some of them aren't so kind and friendly, and that would probably upset me. And so I hired a guy who'd been on my show before, Rafi Manazian. And Manazian, I always say his last name wrong. And Rafi is a car designer, but he also helps people sell cars on Bring a Trailer. He's become an expert at it. He's an evaluator, professional. He's a judge. He knows cars. So he came down to my house. Luckily, he lives an hour north of me, in Bainbridge Island. Came down, looked at my car. He said, okay, here's what I think you have. What do you want for it? And I told him a price that I thought it was worth. He said, I think you're high. I had all my reasons for not being high, but maybe I was high. So I said, well, where do you think we should be? And he goes, let me do a study. I will look at across the board, not just Bring a Trailer, but what cars like that are selling for. And I'll give you a number that I think is accurate. And so he came back and gave me the number. And I said, okay, I think I could live with that. Now what? And he said, well, here's the things I would do to the car to get it prepared. It wasn't a lot of stuff, but a couple little things. My car was a driver, 41,000 miles, not a Concours car, but it was very nice condition, original paint, no dents or scuffs or anything like that. And so he went through the process, took all the pictures, wrote all the copy, and he posted it for me as basically like the broker. And he told me, he said, stay out of it. Don't comment. You're not involved anymore. I'm taking control. If there's a question that I can't answer, I'll call you. But he said, everyone will know it's your car because of my presence on social media. So it took quite a while just getting the photo shoot done because it rains a lot up here and it was this winter time and we kept having to cancel because I didn't want to take it out in the rain. So long story short, I asked Randy to be back on my show the day my car went live to talk about the acquisition of Bring a Trailer by Hearst. How is he doing? Again, it was not about me. It was about promoting him, but we were able to weave in the fact that my car is now on Bring a Trailer. And I'll tell you guys, I've never gotten so many reaching out people. I mean, my phone was on fire the whole week. Text messages, Facebook messages, phone calls, emails. And it was all like, what? You're selling orange? What? Orange crap? I mean, it was, and so I had my dialogue in my head of how I answer the question and so forth. And there's an inevitable few people that want to know what's wrong with the car. Nothing's wrong with the car. I've done everything I want to do with that car, and it's time for it to go to the next caretaker.
Yeah.
Because I really think that's the way it is. You guys, would you agree with me? Like, Ray, cars you've had that you've let go, do you feel like you were just the caretaker during that time?
Oh, we always are. Yeah.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
matter what we think, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Unless you get buried in it.
Well, some people do
Some
that, but
people do.
that's kind of a shame. I never understood that. You know, it's like when the Who used to destroy all their guitars and amps at the end. It would make me crazy as a kid. I'm like, I want that Fender. I want that Gibson.
I will tell you something, Mark. You just said it. That's why I've been an on and off amateur musician since I'm a little kid, and the thing that turned me off to the Who, and it's why I never followed the Who through all my years, was I saw something and it wasn't a video because there were no videos back then. It must have been a TV thing or something. And when they destroyed their instruments, and I was trying to scrap and fetch and paper out to get a drum set, and I'm watching them, kick this stuff off the stage, and I just, even as a kid, I just lost all respect for the band. I said, right. I can't follow these guys.
Well, you must have had a life like me, Ray, where my parents made me work for everything and earn what I had. It wasn't given to me. So if I wanted a surfboard, I had to go make money. That's why I started detailing cars. If I wanted a skateboard, I had to go earn it. And I had plenty of friends who were great people, but their parents gave them whatever they wanted. And I would be at their house and, why'd you leave your skateboard outside in the rain? Somebody might steal it or it's going to get run over. Mom will buy me another one. Yeah. So at the time I didn't like it. I wanted to be like my friends, like, Dad, Joey just got a new sailboat. How come I don't have a sailboat? Well, go earn one, dude. But so at any rate, back to the car, went through the process, and I never sold a car on Bring a Trailer. I bought my turbo actually on eBay. That's where the car originally, that's how I found it back in the day, but there was no Bring a Trailer back then. And so it was a very neat process. And what I did with Rafi was the best money I ever spent, because it enabled me to back away. And inevitably I had to kind of answer the questions, but Rafi gave me that concept that I shared with you guys. Have you done everything with the car that you want to do with it? Or are there still drives you want to take, or you still want to show it places, or do things, modify it, whatever. I never modified it because it was all original, and I sat there and I really thought hard about that. And I went, yeah, I'm done. I've done everything I want to do, and now I'm happy. So that's what did it for me. And I got very close to my price. I mean, within a point where I was sitting here with my wife and Rafi on the phone, and I said, should we let it go? And she's like, sell it. Because it was a burden for her. She would look at the value of that car, and she knew what it meant to me. And every time I drove it, she'd like, don't drive it. Somebody's going to run into you, or, you're not going to leave it anywhere. And then you're going to be so sad and you're going to be so bummed out. And so it was a burden. I started to realize it was a burden on her too. And it wasn't so much about, happy we got the money we got, because it was a great return, until I had to talk with my tax guy today and found out how much taxes I'm going to have to pay on that.
Right.
I don't know if anybody's listening, but they probably know this better than me, but did you know capital gains on a car is 28%?
Wow.
That's terrible.
It's considered a collectible. That's different than capital gains on property or income, or income in the way of like dividends, or money you make in the stock market. I was shocked to learn that one. I'm like, who came up with that rule? Well,
who signed off on it? That
was some smart politician in the old days that didn't think that you deserved that money that you got. But so so I'm really happy with the process. I think that venue for a car of that caliber, and probably a car of any caliber, because what Bring a Trailer has over, and there's lots of other people now. I think there's about 40. I call them kind of Bring a Trailer wannabes, and I don't mean to diminish any of them, because I've had some on my show. They're trying very hard to do what Bring a Trailer has done, but maybe in a little different way. And more power to them. I think it's wonderful, and I like competition, but it's hard to beat Bring a Trailer with their audience and also their price. They charge you $99. That's really. And if you go and look at my car, I got over 30,000 views.
Yeah. For $99.
When someone who has stature in the community, of social media, whatever it does. Tom Cotter, within a year, sold he had a Ford wagon that was really cool. It was optioned out. It was a big block car, 4-speed, bucket seats, console, power windows, loaded, but it had patina. It wasn't a perfect car outside. And because it was Tom Cotter's, the views went up, and he got a good dollar for that car too.
Well, I'm not as famous as Tom Cotter, but I do have some presence. So hopefully, I put once my car went live, I pushed it. I talked about it. I pushed it out there on my social media. So that exposed it even more. You mentioned Tom Cotter. 2 weeks ago, Tom showed up at my house unexpectedly and spent the night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
He and Michael Allen Ross, who's a photographer, very creative photographer. They've been traveling from Key West, and they're going to Dead Horse, Alaska.
Let me see.
Cross country. They were given a new Ford Bronco by Ford in an Airstream trailer, and they're going on all the back roads. In fact,
I saw that.
Tom, you owe me for this.
I was going to say.
His newest book. There you go. Yeah.
Plug his new book. Yeah.
Plug his new book.
And this is kind of like a biography. When he just told me about it, we had him on the radio show, and I said, Tom, it sounds like a Tom Cotter biography. He goes, yeah, pretty much it is. But I just used his one of his quotes today. There's a car in the neighborhood that I was looking at, Corvette, and what I did was I wasn't getting anywhere, so I asked my mailman, which I learned from Tom. Talk to the mailman, talk to the postal people, talk to the UPS driver. And I asked him about it. And of course, he talks to everybody. So he was able to get me a lead and a line, and it really works. And then I found out after talking to this guy just today, in fact, mailmen know a lot more than you think they know.
Of course.
He knows everything that I got. He said to me, hey, I haven't seen you around. You're retired, but where are you? I'm like, I've been keeping busy. I'm not sitting around. He goes, well, I see. I have an 85-foot long driveway with a 6-foot gate in the front. He goes, well, I see the garage is open during the day, but I don't see. Oh, well, yeah, it's because my wife is here and she has the radio on. So, you noticed that. And then he asked me, like, hey, I haven't seen your daughter around. Where is she? I was like, well, now she's working from home. So she's in her home office working. She's not. So this guy's just rattling off stuff that he sees normally that you wouldn't think that they see and know normally, but mailman, watch out for them.
Well, they're like hairdressers. They know all the secrets.
Yeah.
Right? You sit in that chair. Well, I wouldn't know what that's like, but you sit in that chair and you start talking and you just let it all out, and if you've ever gone to a barber or hairdresser, they don't talk. They just let you talk.
Yeah.
If they're good, because there's a subliminal thing going on there. That person listened to me. I'm coming back here because nobody else listens to me, but he or she does. Yeah. So that's a little secret for that sauce. So it was a very good process and I enjoyed it. And the great thing is my car was bought by a gentleman who lives an hour north of me. Go figure. And his curator, the guy who takes care of his car collection, he has a very nice car collection and a lot of Porsches, is a guy that I hired to work for me at Griot's Garage 25 years ago.
Oh, that's cool.
So the day I got my car 13 years ago, this gentleman, and I'm not mentioning names because these guys are kind of private collectors. He went with me to pick up my car. So this guy was with me when I picked up my car. I worked with him for 15, 20 years. And then he called me on Sunday saying, hey, my boss bought your car. And I'm like, your boss? He goes, yeah, I just started working for this gentleman and I'm going to be coming and picking it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, the same guy who picked it up when I got it. So it made me feel good being a car guy because we all kind of get attached to these things, right? Yeah. So it's going to be with somebody I know. And the gentleman who bought it just reached out to me this week and said, hey, your car's awesome. I'm honored to be the next caretaker of Orange Crush. If you want to come visit it anytime, you're welcome to. And so it's like the car community. I mean, it's a great community. So, it was a good experience. And, except for the sticker shock on the tax deal. I'm sure the government will spend my money very wisely. Yeah.
Well, you know what? We're a little bit past the halfway mark. I'm gonna let the fellas in. They probably want to ask you a couple questions. And
I know one guy who's got a lot of comments about that Porsche.
Yeah. Here he comes.
Hey, Terry, what's happening, my friend?
Naturally want to help. What's up, Mark? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great. Nice to see you. I like the hat.
I appreciate it. I got one question for you though.
Okay.
If you could be a car, what would it be?
If I could be a car?
If you could be any car, just like you ask everyone, if you could be any car.
Okay, well, let me tell you something though, but my question's a little different than that. It's
Okay.
not what you want to be. It's how you perceive yourself as a car.
Yep.
That's a very
Very
harder,
good.
a
If
much
you could
harder
be
question.
Any car,
Yeah.
what,
Okay.
what car do you perceive yourself as?
Okay, so you're going to pull the mic trick on me. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Exactly.
Jeez, who let this guy in the room? Lewis?
Ray.
I was like, one day I'm gonna get him on the show and I'm gonna ask him that same question.
You know he's a troublemaker, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. I've been asked this question before. I had a racer on the show, and he asked me. He was my 500th guest, and then he came back and asked me that question. And I'm going to answer the same way because I think it still fits with who I am, and it's a Porsche 911. Now, many people would think I just wigged out or chickened out on that question, but here's why. To me, the Porsche, specifically the 911, is a car that has stayed true to itself throughout its entire entity from 64 when the first one came out to the car today. Now, yeah, they're changed. They've improved. Hopefully, I've improved over time. Maybe not physically, but mentally and emotionally, and the way I care for people. To me, the Porsche 911 is reliable, but fun. So I like to think I'm very reliable. I don't know if anybody could pull off this many shows as I have and not be reliable. But I try to be fun, but also serious. And you ask my kids, Dad, you're way too serious all the time. Loosen up, you know. Porsche is a serious car. It's seriously designed, the mechanics, the engineering, that it needs to work. And that's from the racing heritage that it has to perform, but it still delivers. So I still feel I'm not probably a new GT3 RS or anything like that. I'm a little more old fashioned, old 911. If you go back to maybe the early 70 long hood Porsches, which I always loved, that old air cooled era. I had a 72S, which was a really neat, fun car. So yeah, is that a fair answer?
That's a very good answer. I was gonna say a 911.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I mean, I almost don't want to say it because it feels a little bit like I'm puffing myself up too much. I'm not comfortable.
No. I was gonna.
Doing
But
that.
see, you went back to 70. I was gonna give you like 80, 81.
Well, you know,
I give you a newer one.
I like. It's why in the 80s I got married in 84, and I had a 74 911 at the time, and I really wanted a new Porsche. In fact, I wanted a turbo. That's why I ended up getting my Orange Crush, because that car has always been in my mind in the 80s. But I had a new marriage. We just bought our first home. We just had our first baby. I couldn't afford a new Porsche. I mean, there's no way. So that car always kind of stuck back there in my head. And of course, the Widowmaker, the whole mystique around the turbo in the 80s, it was the fastest production car you could get at the time. So all of that kind of hypes up your manliness, puff your chest a little bit.
Yeah.
Of course.
But the reason the 70s for me is because that was my coming of age. The 70s when I became a teenager, when I got my driver's license. I had a friend whose dad had a 72 that he used to drive and let me drive. So I always remember that. And so those cars kind of bring back that. And I think for all you guys, probably you would agree, cars bring back our youth.
Yeah.
And that's why we love cars. That's why you see right now the cars from the 80s, like my E46 M3 are cars from the 2000s. My 2005 has become so popular now because those millennials that were teenagers that have posters of those E46 M3s, they're now of age and they have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going back. They're not probably looking at 72 911s or 60 or 65 350 or 64 356s or anything older that are of our era. And I'm not trying to age any of you guys.
Right.
But we live for those. It's like the cars you play with, Terry. I mean, those are cars when you were a kid, you dreamed about having those and building those things, right?
Every last one of them.
Okay. Well, Terry, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What was when you were on Cars? Yeah. What was your answer?
Oh, it was a Chevelle.
Yeah.
69.
That's so deep. That's so deep in his bloods. It's running through his
Yeah.
veins.
It was Chevelle. Even though I'm a Camaro guy, but like up until the point where I finally got a Chevelle, because if you remember, Mark, I said it was going to choose a '69 Camaro, but the '69 Camaro for me was the pinnacle. That was the car that I always wanted, and it always escaped me. I wanted it in high school, couldn't afford it. I wanted it when I got in college. I needed a more reliable car. When I got out of college, got a job, I wanted that car, but I couldn't get it because like it wasn't practical. And finally, I just said, you know what? I'm getting me a '69 Camaro, and I got it. And I love it. I still have it. Love the car.
Yeah.
But it's like a thing where when you want something so bad, and then when you actually get it, it's at like 90% there, 99% there. But it's a little too small for me. I'm 6'3". So, but when I got the Chevelle, it was just like, okay, you know, it's a bigger car. You got more room. So, not saying that I wouldn't get that Camaro. I love the Camaro. I love the '69 Camaro, but I think the Chevelle fits me a little bit more better, you know.
Well, you touched on something interesting too with this whole phenomenon of going back in our youth. A lot of times people will think they want to go back. Like my next door neighbor always wanted an early '60s Corvette. Well, he got to a point, he's an airline pilot making money. He could get one. He went and looked at one, fell in love with it, walked around. Oh, this is my dream. Because he's about 10, 12 years older than me, I think. No, sorry, Bill. Maybe not that much. I think he's 70, 71 or something like that. Well, then he drove it. And he was a little too big. The steering wheel was a little too close. He drove like, couldn't steer, drove like a truck. And he was like, all that fantasy just kind of melted away. And there's a segue to this comment for all you guys. I'd love to hear from you guys about this. The new outlaw type resto mod. I just had a guy from Scion, the P1800 guys in Sweden that are making the retro P1800 by a company called Scion Racing. The Emery Outlaws, Rob Dickinson singer, My Dream. I mean, that lottery ticket that I waste $1 on once in a while, I write the word singer on it because that's what I'm going to order if that number ever hits, which tells you I'm never going to have one. But that's a question I have for all these guys here. I mean, this might be, if you let me play this game, Lewis.
Sure.
Let's start with Jim. Jim, is there a car you always wanted, you dreamed about, and you went and finally got to drive it, and you went?
Well, I've driven actually quite a few cars just because of all the different things I've done. I've driven old Corvettes. You're right. I had a chance to drive a 57 T-Bird one time from Queens out to Long Island for somebody. I was like, people like these?
They like to look at them.
Yeah, they do. I have more people pulling me over like, hey, nice car. Dude, I'm delivering it, right? You know, one car that disappoints me the most, and everybody raves about these things, Mercedes-Benz.
Okay, now which one, though? Because
this was a 560 SEL. So
what era?
Like,
so that's 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not an SL, not an SEL. SL.
Oh, SL.
I was like, what is this? One car that does impress me, BMW. Wow.
Which model?
Any of them?
Any of them? Wow. Hey, I'm a BMW guy. I've had 4 M3s now. I love those cars.
I will tell you one thing. Like everybody else here, I'm an American muscle car guy. But when I did work at a speed shop in Queens, the same one Joe D worked at, one of the owners, he also dealt cars on the side. So he always had something interesting. He dealt with more interesting cars, and he had a 911 that was converted to a slant nose.
Okay.
And he let me drive it. So like any other muscle car guy, I got on it from the hole, and I'm like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I got to the end. Of the road, and there was a really nice left-hand sweeper that I knew exactly how to take in any American car.
Yeah.
There I am driving Porsche, and I'm going through the turn, and I'm like, this thing didn't even move. I was like, I gotta go back. I went back, and I took it a little harder. I was like, oh my God, this thing handles amazing.
Yeah.
So I totally have respect for Porsche. As a matter of fact, I saw on Facebook today is the anniversary of the release of the movie Le Mans, and that is the movie that got me into cars. That is the movie that got me into auto racing.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Brian.
69 Camaro is my first and second car. I love Camaros. Love everything American muscle, but Porsche will always have a place in my heart. Especially 917.
Yeah. Oh, well, jeez. So, Brian, What
Yes.
about your first time jumping in a car that you thought was going to be a dream and wasn't quite living up to the dream?
Well, that's kind of hard because I'm pretty old school and rough around the edges. And in the handful of stuff that I've driven and what I still want, I'm not an AC guy. I'm not a power steering guy. So that would not surprise me. And like I said, if I had to and I passed one up and I kicked myself, would be
There you go. We're
a
back to the
79 930.
Yep.
Well,
Well,
I worked on them for over 20 years before doing what I did. I was a Porsche technician,
oh wow.
and I love the slant nose and the turbos, old school. They were scary. A lot of people didn't understand how to drive them because it was instant on and instant off, and
Oversteer galore.
they, like I said, my other car is an Audi 4000 Quattro.
Ooh,
And
sweet.
you want to talk about having, 300 pounds of motor hanging out or whatever past the front wheel and once you learn how to drive it, you surprise a lot of people really quick with that car. But again, it's learning how to drive. They put the fundamentals of driving into it and not relying.
I gotta show you guys something. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he's doing a Ray.
Yeah.
He's doing a Ray.
Oh, Ray.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Very cool.
Now I have to say, Porsche was my first favorite car. First poster, you know what I mean, the 911. But then I got away from it when the Lamborghinis and stuff started popping in as I got older.
Right.
But now that I'm older, I'm going back to that thought of I like the Porsche.
Well, that model was built for me by when I did Cars Yeah TV show one year. We did 13 episodes in 2013, and then COVID destroyed our TV career, or my TV career. But one of the cameramen, who's actually going to be my guest tomorrow, Jake Gunner, as a side hobby, he builds scratch model type cars. And he had never seen my Orange Crush, but he had heard about it. And so he said, "Could you send me some pictures of your car?" And I said, "Yeah." And then one day this model showed up. This thing is insane. Number one, he got the paint almost spot on, which I don't know how he did off pictures, because my car being that 3-stage pearl metallic, you guys know about pearl. It changes color in the light. It's a chameleon. And somehow he took all those pictures and figured out what that color was. He said he did a whole bunch of test sprays. He didn't tell me he was doing this. It even has a Cars Yeah sticker on the rear window, where my car has one. He built a rear wiper, which my car came with a rear wiper option. The license plate matches my license plate, and my license plate is a vintage license plate. So he even got that right. I mean, incredible. So I told him when I interviewed him for tomorrow's show, I said, I gave away a lot of stuff with my car, but I've had a lot of artists on the show who did, well, like, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. See the painting behind me? There was right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of chopped off here, but that came from a listener of mine in Russia who's an artist who paints cars. And he saw pictures. That's me in my turbo. He saw a picture somebody took. And so he did a painting. The thing is, well, it's probably 4 feet long by 2 feet tall. And he shipped it to me. I got this package one day. You talk about mailman. He goes, you get a lot of interesting stuff, but this is from Russia. He goes, "What are you doing with the Russians?"
Yeah.
And I said, "I don't know. I don't know anybody in Russia." And turns out he did that painting for me. So I've kept all these memorabilia things to remind me. But so now I can look at Orange Crush on my desk. But Brian, that's interesting. So let me ask you this: having worked on these cars, because I'm not the mechanic or anywhere close to the mechanic that you are, what would you say were some of the genius things that Porsche did with that car to make it what it is?
Well, I mean, that's kind of I don't know. I mean, kind
of a leading question.
Yeah.
Well, I'm biased. Come on, Ray.
Yeah. I mean,
my Orange Crush.
There was a lot of stuff that, that they they were way ahead of a lot of other manufacturers. And so it's kind of funny because, you know, this was in the mid 80s, 85, I guess, is when I started at the dealership there. And when I went to take a test for Maryland State inspection, you know, the trooper comes in and, you know, he's like, okay, we've got to measure a brake drum. Well, we hadn't had a drum on a car since, you know, the late 60s or whatever, you know, when they were all disc, and, you know, and he's like, we're standing in this, in the Audi, Porsche, Audi, BMW dealership. And he's like, well, we need to find a brake drum, you know? And I'm like, well, that ain't going to happen. So like I said, they were so far ahead. And, you know, like I said, other than some of the older, you know, when you get in the mid 60s, but when they went fuel injection, you know, we were so far ahead in advance, and they don't get a lot of credit. And, you know, of course, a lot of people.
Hold on. That's if we're going to agree that K or L Jetronic was very, very advanced.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, it's a kind of a leading question on that. But again, you know, I to this day, I personally miss working on the car.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't miss the customers.
Now be nice. Be nice. Well, you know, Ray, you mentioned the 917, and the engine that was in that car was basically modified from the street cars, right?
I couldn't tell you.
Well, they were. Yeah. I mean, if you take the 910s, the 908s, the 907s, the 917s, compared to race cars nowadays, you'd look at the engines and go, this isn't any street car. Those engines were right out of the street cars. Now, in the case of a 917, of course, they stacked them. You know, they ended up with two of those monster engines. But yeah, I set you up for that, obviously, Brian, because I'm a Porsche fanatic.
No, I understand that. But like I said, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was way advanced for that time. And, you know, like I said, there was a lot. Now, of course, you know, I still call them German junk because they could take the most simplest thing in the world and make it extremely complicated. You know, when the 911 came back with a convertible top, I mean, they just couldn't leave one type of operation system. They had to put all three back in. They had to have the manual to unlock it. Then they had to put the cables to move it. They had to put the hydraulics in, and then they had a whole bunch of gears and the switches all over the place. I mean, you want to talk about just overcomplicating something to the nth degree. But
Brian, does this bring back
Ross Topworth?
Yeah, good stuff.
But Brian, here's something interesting. My second Porsche was an '84 Carrera Cabriolet.
Yeah,
I lived in San Diego. It was my daily driver. And when I got that car, I wasn't even planning on buying a Cabriolet. It was a weird fluke that happened. I turned down the wrong street. I was looking for a coupe that was for sale one street over in Point Loma. And ended up, this guy was pulling his car out and putting it up for sale. It was crazy. Beautiful car. Platinum, chocolate brown interior. Yeah. It was a European car. Remember the gray market cars back in the 80s that some got brought in here? Well, this was one of them. It had all these modifications to it done at the factory, including in the engine. I mean, it was just a marvelous car. But San Diego doesn't rain very often. But when it does, you'll get kind of a drenching. That top was worthless. The water actually went through the canvas. And I remember driving it to work one morning. I'm like, it's raining inside my car.
I used to upset a few customers because I would tell them to buy a rain suit. Yeah, you know, we were constantly, especially if you really, I mean, I don't want to turn the show into a 911 show, but you know, you take a Targa, you take a top about yay big, and you fold it up into a road map, and you stick it in the front trunk, and then you leave it there for 3 months, and then you pull it out, and you expect it to seal the car back. Right. You know, it's
a different deal. But I'll tell you something funny. In the owner's manual in that car, it actually said, top is not conducive to inclement weather. It said that. And I had a business partner. I worked in advertising at the time. He was a BMW guy. So we always had this little battle going between Porsche and BMW. And I remember I cut a plastic trash bag at work and put it over the top and took the top open and sealed so that it wouldn't leak while I was sitting in at work. And he came in, he goes, why does your car have a diaper on it?
Yeah.
Oh, he was unmerciful. Yeah,
Yeah.
at that one. So we got Mean Papa Squirrel in the room. My first question for you is, where the hell did you get that name?
My business is Flying Squirrel. I sell at Renaissance fairs and places like that.
Okay.
My wife is Mama Squirrel. We have a daughter. She gave me that name because they needed. Facebook wouldn't let us have a name. She couldn't just put Papa Squirrel. They said it had to have a differentiator, I think. Anyway, she had to add mean to it
Mhm.
Mean.
because, she says I'm very mean to her, not getting her all these things.
Well,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well,
No,
I never
you
said that. There we go.
She just walked in. That's why.
Yeah, she caught you in that. So,
Yeah.
so
And-
do you like to be called Mean Papa or Squirrel?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, I like Squirrel. So you're gonna be the
That's
flying
what
squirrel.
I usually get.
Squirrel. So
I just don't like
Rocky.
being called for lunch.
okay. So
Right.
Squirrel, same question to you. A car that you dreamed of, you lusted after, you loved. It's kind of like that girl in school that you just are in love with and you wish she'd go out with you, and you take her on a date and you go, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible." So when you relate that to a car, is there a car that has done that to you?
Some background. My dad was American, i.e., he would not buy anything but GM or
Ford?
no Fords.
No? Oh,
GM, only GM.
only GM. Okay.
So no foreign cars for him.
No Fern.
He didn't believe in foreign cars.
Okay.
Too small, too hard to get parts for. Lots of good excuses. So I always wanted, believe it or not, a 71 Pontiac Model J.
Okay.
That's a big road hog.
Yeah.
Handles like a
Road
hog
hog.
on ice.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
It
That
just
paints
don't
a
handle.
picture. Yeah.
But I just liked it because there was a lot of room, and you could sit back in it, look like you're styling. Just sit back in the car and drive down the road.
Yeah.
And it was comfortable. And so I had one for about 2 years. Then I sold it because when you drove through water puddles, the power steering would lock up.
What?
Drive through a water puddle and go to turn,
That's
couldn't move it.
You're toast.
it.
That's it. And about 20 seconds later, maybe shorter than that, but it seemed a lot longer, it would start working. So shortly after that, I sold the car because that time I'd gotten stationed in Washington, D.C. and Virginia. And it doesn't rain in Virginia. I had visions of me driving into something
Yeah.
with the family in the car. So I sold that car, but I liked it. It was fun.
But then the new owner tightened up the belt, took that problem right away.
It never squealed. It never squealed. I didn't
Doesn't
want
have
to
to
find
squeal.
out.
It doesn't have to squeal.
Yeah. Yeah.
See,
My
that's
Riviera, my Riviera used to do the same thing. My 71 Riv did the same thing through a puddle.
but see, you were a mechanic. I had to learn
Yeah.
all my stuff the hard way.
Okay.
A little
Well,
bit
I
here, a little bit there, and nobody ever told me that. My daughter's
So-
disagreeing with me.
So Ray, you just mentioned a car, the Riviera.
Oh God, that's another one.
John Houlihan, who was on the GM team that designed that car. There's a picture of him. Oops, my camera's on the opposite end. He just sent me this book. Yeah, I got it yesterday.
Oh, cause of my life. Okay.
Cars of
Nice.
My Life. And he's a designer who worked on that car. And so the book is full of drawings that some of them are interesting cars, but here's a cool one.
Would it
62 Chev-
be?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's nice.
62 Impala,
Isn't this
He
4?
he was telling me what?
Isn't that a 4? Not a 2?
I thought it was a 62.
I thought it was a 3.
Well, double check me.
Okay, gosh, now, Louis, you got like the police here today. What's with?
Yeah.
Well, just
They don't
keep
play.
walking. It doesn't matter.
These guys know their stuff.
Okay, 1962 Chevrolet Impala SS convertible.
Okay. All right. I thought the fact that Okay.
I figure he knows what he's doing because these are all cars he actually worked on the design team for. But at any rate,
right?
Maybe
you
that
bring
could
the-
have been. Because I thought that was a 64 too. Maybe that could have been designed for the 62 or whatever.
Yeah. And it
But then
then
kind of
64 production.
Yeah,
It
you're
didn't-
right.
Well,
Right.
here's a way. The 64, the front pillar went straight, right? It wasn't curved, was it?
Oh, well, this
It was
is a
still curved in
63 was the last year curved.
Yeah, I know that. That I couldn't tell you.
64 Impala, because 65 they changed the whole car.
Yeah, 65 was
And
totally
66 they
different.
changed it. So 64 was when it was straight, where 63 it curved in like
was
that.
actually the last
along
year
with-
the-
this
along
is
with
curved. This is curved.
So
Yeah.
then it's 63, 62.
That was
Yeah.
the last year. The 64 was last year. The X frame also.
Yes.
You know, Lewis, your boys here have a hard time staying on course. You know that?
Hey, that's what
Stay
happens
for
when you're in a
hours,
garage
see
full of guys.
Stay for another hour. See what happens.
Yeah, I hear about the
Wipe
late
your
night show.
head down.
Yeah,
Put your head down.
we're gonna change the vodka to scotch.
Yes, yes.
The reason I bring him up is because he told some really interesting stories about the design of that Riviera and how they came up with that. And the people at GM, the higher ups, just went, "There's no way we're building that. That's too crazy. I mean, it's just way too crazy." And they were trying to make it work on, I forget the car that the frame. You know, they want to keep the frames, kind of like when the Mustang came out. You know, that wasn't a custom frame that came from the car before. The Falcon. Yeah, I always think Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
It's a different machine. It's a different car.
Right.
And he said that when the car couldn't fit on that frame very well, that they were required to fit it on, but they had to modify some things. But you know, that back window, that pointy thing, I mean, all this stuff. And he said they had to fight tooth and nail to get that car done. And finally the guys in the suit said, "Fine, okay, but if this thing fails, you guys are all in trouble." And rest is history. The car was loved. I mean, it was just so unique and
It
different.
was either loved or hated. Still to this day, it was loved or hated.
Well,
Wait,
whoever
so you
hates
talking
it,
about a 71?
Yeah, the boat tail.
Boat tail?
Okay.
the boat tail.
Yeah. The boat tail.
How
Exactly.
How
okay.
could you hate that car?
I don't. I love the car. And I
okay.
still have that rear glass under my pool deck, right? So
Oh, you do?
I saved it. Yeah, I saved the interior, the glass. I saved the 1-year gas tank. Yeah, I got a bunch of parts for that car.
You know, Brian, you'll like this story. A friend of mine bought a 68 soft window Targa. Remember, they only did that for like 2 years.
Yep.
Weird deal, right? And he didn't like it. So he brought that. I went with him to LA. I grew up in La Jolla. We drove up to LA with his trailer and he wanted to buy this car. And he goes, "Your job is to talk me out of this car." We get there and it was a disaster. I mean, I could see through. I said, "Bobby, do not buy this car." He was out handing the $100 bills over. You know, I'm like, "Bobby, stop. So we took it home. He never restored a car. He did a marvelous. He worked forever on that car, sprayed it with lacquer in his garage, got high. I mean, you know, all the stuff. But he hated that window. So he went and bought the glass to put in the back out of a junkyard. And of course, he wasn't really super skilled. So when he fixed a lot of the rust, which was around the seals, the window didn't quite fit in the channels. It was just like 1/16 of an inch off. And I said, "It's so close." And he goes, "Well, go on the other side and push, and I'll push on this." you know where we're going, right? And I go, "Oh, it went in." Thousands of pieces of glass, every glass in my mouth and my tongue cut, bleeding.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, we still joke about that. But he joined after college. He went off to be a naval aviator. So he flew off to become a Marine pilot. And he drove that car across from San Diego to Pensacola to flight school. And he got as far as Alabama. And he was in a hotel and came out the next morning for part of the last leg. And somebody stole the car. It was gone.
Oh,
Never saw it again. So,
oh,
yeah,
no.
sad story. But yeah, I still remember that feeling of that glass just exploding.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. But well, you know, that's the cool thing about cars, though, is they all have stories, right?
Yep, like music.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, what are you working on these days, Terry?
Right now, that 67 Chevelle, it's almost reskinned, ready to go back on the frame. I mini tubbed it. So the underneath is done because if you remember when I first got it, everything had, I mean, the rockers, the inner rockers on both sides, the floorboards had to be done, the trunk had to be everything. So I'm at the point where it's on the rotisserie, it's almost done. I'm putting in a mini tub on the last side, on the passenger side now, or driver's side. So once that's finished, I just got to tweak out the frame a little bit, bring it in a little bit and set it on there and then put it together. That's it.
And you're
The
almost
hardest
there.
part. Yeah, I'm almost there. The hardest part
Yeah.
was just doing all that sheet metal and cutting because like you have to cut metal out because like some pieces just didn't fit, so you got to make it longer and so it's almost done. And I got a Le Mans, a '69 Le Mans was going to be a GTO project after that, and then I just picked up a GMC pickup truck '67.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Then me and Louis Lee got some plans with that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's going down.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to it?
Well, I'm going to do a short bed, of course, and it's going to be like a autocross. It's going to be like a pro touring type of thing.
Really?
All of them do. That's my thing. All of them. I want a car that does everything good. I don't want just a drag quarter car. To me, that's not practical. I'm more autocrossing because autocrossing is like everyday driving. Yeah. So I prefer the car, like do everything, handle, acceleration, do donuts, do everything well instead of just being like, okay, got some fat slicks in the back and skinnies in the front. Yeah. No.
Yeah. No, you want it to be able to drive and have fun.
Drive it.
And my wife
like
would argue with you about a short
little bit
bed.
comfortable, take the family upstate somewhere, whatever, such and such.
You're upstate.
What do you say, Squirrel?
My wife would argue with him about making a long bed into a short bed.
Uh-oh.
Because if you're not able to haul a piece of plywood, pickup truck is no good. That's exactly her belief.
Yeah, well, I'm not really hauling plywood, but what's going to happen? I'll do the short bed and I'll be like, I got to haul some plywood.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But what'll happen? That wouldn't be the car to do it. I'd rather just, get the $15 an hour
delivery
Home Depot truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I understand the logic, Terry. I never did like short beds either.
I think short beds are.
You got like the peanut gallery going there, Squirrel. What's with that?
Come on, Terry.
I have a very independently mouthed daughter.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I wonder where she gets that from.
You raised me. Yeah. My next door neighbor has been a Ford truck guy his whole life. And he recently, a year or two ago, he bought a Raptor.
Mm.
And he has a ranch out Eastern Washington. He uses it like you should, but he'll call me on the phone and say, hey, I'm coming back from the ranch. Look out your window. Because I look out in the front of my house here and it'll be covered. I mean 2 inches thick of mud. The whole thing is a bright red, beautiful truck when it's all shiny, but he knows it drives me crazy because I'm like a clean car guy, so I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I say, don't wash that in your driveway. It's going to run down in front of my driveway and I'm going to track it into my garage. So don't do that, So you guys may think of me as more of a European car guy, which I am, but we'll play a little game here. I've had 2 American cars. My first car was an American car. So we'll see who can first guess the brand.
Mustang or Ford.
I did have a Ford. That was Chevy. There you go, Terry. Okay. So it's a Chevy. I called it my grandma car.
Nova.
Brian, good job. A Chevy Nova 2.
Those are hot, man.
A 4-door.
4-door, yes, it was. You told me the story.
Yeah, a Ford. Yeah. Well, that Terry had an inside line. But I'm impressed, Brian. Why'd you pick Nova?
Because my grandmother had one of those.
Well, I bought it from her.
Hey, the 2-doors are hot.
Yeah.
Well,
it was a 4.
The 2-doors would have been cool with the V8, but this had the 6 and 4 doors, and it still had. Remember the '60s that plastic seat covers with the nubbies on them? It still had those, which in San Diego were useless because if you want to sweat, sit in that thing. It's like terrible. But
me and Terry we were at a PRI and there was one there. Remember, Terry? It was beautiful. I mean, they really did a great job on those. Those are nice cars, man. When you do them,
A 67.
somewhere in that area, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
The 67, yeah.
it was good for me because I was a little bit older than most of my friends. So I got my license first, and we were all surfers. So I put surf racks on it, and I could take 4 or 5 of my buddies down surfing. We could stack the boards, and everybody fit in. It had that trunk that had that plastic, funky looking checkerboard, looked like a grandma's tablecloth for a picnic that sat in the back on the floor. So you could throw your wetsuits in there and not worry about it too much. But yeah, I was just kind of embarrassed driving that thing because I had friends that had parents that would buy them nice cars. I'm like, I'm going to buy something cooler than this. So I'm going to see who can guess something here. After a first year, I bought what I call my poor man's. Brian's going to get this. I know. I bought my poor man's Porsche. What's a poor man's Porsche?
Volkswagen.
Right.
914.
No. It was a Volkswagen. I wish I could have had a 914. I did have one.
The what do you call it?
Armageddon.
Right.
Who said that?
Yeah. Jim
Who said
did.
that? Oh, yeah. Carmen Gia. Yeah. Poor man's Porsche. That was my and I love that car. I
Try to
restored
touch
it.
one now.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
They're crazy, you know,
Even the Volkswagen campers, forget it.
wow,
Yeah.
that's I have a friend up here who, any of you guys know J&L Fabricating, Louis Shefschick?
No.
You need to know this guy. He's incredible. He has a shop that he mostly restores and handles vintage race cars. So when I was racing, he took care. I had a Lotus and a Lola, so he took care of those. They do a arrive and drive. They bring your cars to the track, assign a mechanic to you. He restores cars. They also restore Concours level cars. They did a beautiful car for my old business partner, an ISO Revolta. They made into a resto mod. So think of the ISO Revolta, European, into a resto mod, and it ended up coming in second place in what year was it? 2019 SEMA show of the Battle of the Builders.
Wow.
Second place they got on that car. Yeah. Only to be outdone by the, who are the two? God, my brain's fading here. The two brothers that build the most.
Oh, the Ring Brothers.
Ring Brothers.
Yep.
Yeah. They got first place. Yeah. But
With
really,
recoil.
yeah. really, really cool car. But yeah, that Carmen Gia was the first car I ever restored because I tore it all apart. I wanted a Porsche, so we took Porsche Signal Orange and Guards Red and mixed it 50-50 and sprayed the car in my friend's garage. Got it all over his mom's washer and dryer. She was not happy about that. We know what you're doing.
So that was the fastest moving washer and dryer, though.
yeah. The spin cycle worked really well. Yeah. But and then we took the motor out and built up like a 21. You had what, a 1600, I think, back in the day.
Yeah.
Built up like a 2110cc with dual Delardos and put some deep. Remember those Brian, those deep dish Volkswagen wheels that were inset? Yeah, put those on it. That was kind of a fun deal. But I did have a second American car, so I'm trying to let you guys down here. Too much European talk. I got it later. It was what I would call a clone or a fakey-do. So it was a car built to look like another car, but of the same. Terry, you know the answer. Don't tell anybody, okay? Yeah. So what could I tell them, Terry, that would give them a little bit of a clue that there's a snake involved?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a snake involved. So what kind of car was it?
The Cobra.
350 GT Shelby Cobra.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I bought it from a friend whose dad worked at Ford in the 60s. And he bought the car new. And he went over and met Carroll Shelby. And he bought parts from Carroll Shelby to put on this car to make it a Cobra. But it's set for 20 years before he did it. So he had the fiberglass hood, the scoops. He built up the engine at the 289, but he kind of modified it a little bit. White, Wimbledon white with the blue stripes. And I'll tell you, of all the cool cars I've had, that car garnered the most attention. Well, except for one other, but the most attention every time I got gas.
That's your color, Brian.
Yep.
Well, does everybody agree? The Mustang is like icon. It's like the 911. It's been around forever.
Well,
Right?
the Shelby.
I have a 66 fastback.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And that was my first car, and it's in a million pieces. And I took it apart, and I honestly have to say what you said about your crush, about afraid of driving it. I'm afraid to put the car together. There's only one time that I ever left that car and I caught somebody trying to break into it.
Oh, no.
And after that, I never left that car out of my sight. That car was in my view or was some, and I never, and like you said, I couldn't go. I mean, and we're talking, this is the last time I drove this car was in 89.
Oh, wow.
Okay. In 1989, I had the, it's actually kind of a funny story. I had, it had a 2.4s. I had a lot of work done to it. I got in a lot of trouble with that car. I got nailed one night for drag racing and had something like 15 points and $2,500. and I had a lot of issues. And of course, what do? I go out and I finally bought my, I guess you could say my dream car, because it was a 89 Mustang GT.
Okay.
And I buy the GT, bring it home, and my dad goes, well, you need to talk to the insurance guy. So I called up Walt, and he said, you did what?
Yeah, you fool.
I mean, you don't even, you have 15 points on your license, and you bought a Mustang GT.
Yeah.
And I paid a lot of money the first year in insurance on that car.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's when I took it apart in 89.
Yeah.
And there's times I work on it, and trust me, I want to drive it, but I know that it's safe where it's at. And it's
Now, this is
sitting behind.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a psychological.
Yeah. And the few
deal.
times that I have the door open, or if I push it out and work on it, there's always that guy that stops, and I have to stop what I do, and I push the car, and he goes, oh, I can't look. I said, no, and I'm not interested, and please leave.
Yeah.
I know I've finally come to the conclusion that something subconscious, I know that car is there, and I'm still happy the way, even in a million pieces.
Do you think you'll ever finish?
I hope. But
I hope.
I mean, I'd like to. I mean, as I've gotten older now, like I said, I'm not I'm a peanut butter and jelly kind of guy, and I'm old school, and I could, my guy, like I said, I don't need to have all the creature comforts of that, and I would kind of miss the rumble and the smell and drive of it. So.
Well, I had somebody tell me once, I was working on a car, and they said, Mark, there's no hope in restoration. So when you say I hope, you can't do that.
Yeah, I know.
Because there's no hope in restoration.
Right.
Hopefully Ray will stop by and kick me in the ass, and then we can do it.
Well, I've told you, I finally got around to restoring the car that I've owned is just about as long as yours. I've had mine since 75. And like Mark said before, when I get in that car and hit the first light, turn onto the Sunrise Highway, I pull second gear, 30 years just flies off my shoulders. Literally 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm more like half my age. And it is the great American time machine. It takes you right back. I look at that hood, and even though now it's painted, it's still the same hood and same dash I looked at in the 70s. And
right.
Man, there's nothing better than that, because it's yours. And it's always been yours. And
okay, now you guys are gonna make me cry.
I
just sold my car.
It did make my wife cry. And I was amazed, when I first got the thing running, no nose on the car, but I got it running, and I'm looking at the oil pressure like a hawk, and she's sobbing, and I kind of said, what's the matter? Is the car on fire?
Yeah.
And she said, no. She said, I just remembered back to when we dated and you drove this car. And then we always went out in it. And then, married, house, kids, the car it was always registered and insured, but it just got put away. It would come out occasionally. And then it just stayed away because it really needed a restoration.
Yeah.
And then she remembers when I dragged it home and dropped it off the flatbed with one locked wheel. We literally dragged it off the flatbed. And she said it looked so sad. It was dirty. And then you worked on it and you were filthy every day. And the car now is in a million pieces. And nobody ever thought it would go back together. Give you a little faith.
Yeah.
And she goes, now here it is running again. She goes, it's got new life. She goes, and I see it in you. And I'm like, you're right. You're right.
See, Brian, there's your why.
And we're not getting younger.
I know.
Oh, man.
know. Well, like
That's
I said,
the truth.
So now I've gotten 3 paint chips on a brand new paint job. Every single one of them happened in my own garage. And I'll tell you something. I'm still taking it out and still enjoying it. Big deal.
I'm going to tell you something about, and I'm glad you have that attitude about paint chips. Okay. Because again, you guys that know me well, I'm a fastidious nutcase. I'm wound way too tight. My cars have to be perfect. I hate it when something happens to them. I'm so careful. My kids know that from the time they were always careful. Always lift your feet over the threshold, not to scuff it. I mean, all this stuff, they still tease me to this day. And I bought another unique car that you guys know John Wilhoit in Long Beach, California?
No.
Well, John is a master restorer of 356s and early 911s. His builds are super expensive, super awesome, but he also is into outlaw. So he builds like a 2.2 liter 356 motor that's kick ass. He'll put 911 suspension in a 356. He's like Gary Emery, Rod Emery. He'll make these cars drive like almost new cars. He built you familiar with Chuck Beck Spiders? Beck Speedsters. Chuck built a replica. He created the replica 550 Spider that James Dean died in.
I heard that.
He's in his 80s. He's still building cars. He's building 904 replica, Porsche 904. He built a motorcycle with a Lamborghini 12-cylinder engine in it.
Wow.
This guy's nuts.
That's crazy.
He's incredible. I met him years ago at Laguna Seca at the races. He had a 550 Spider replica. I talked about it, and I always wanted one. John built one. John Wilhoit built one for a guy, and I bought it sight unseen. And my son and I flew to Long Beach, and we spent 5 days driving it back up the coast in that car. Nice. No top, no radio. It's like it's a little race car basically. It had a 56 Speedster engine in it, but it had been modified by him. But at any rate, I planned this trip so that we could park in underground parking places. I had a cover, really careful. Well, the second day, we pulled into Morro Bay or somewhere. I'm trying to remember where it was. And we're covering the car, and I'm speed shining the front to get the bugs off. And I look down and I go, oh man, we got a rock chip. And I was so bummed. My son was 8 years old. And he came up to me. You could tell I was pretty upset. He put his hand on my shoulder. He goes, Dad, it's not a rock chip. That's a memory mark.
It's a memory mark. Yeah.
And I looked at him and I went, who are you? But what you just said, Ray, he said, that's a memory of the trip we had today.
Yeah.
So every time you look at that, from the mouth of babes, as they say. And so I've tried to remember that and not worry so much and enjoy. And it's still hard. I don't know. Maybe I was potty trained too young. Isn't that what Freud said? Something like that. But, loosen up, man.
Yeah.
Get loose.
You know what else it is? These old school cars, they're so few and far between when you see them. So they don't have to be perfect. There's something about a 69 Camaro come rolling down the road that is in primer. The car looks good. The car just looks good no matter what.
I had more comments on my car when it was in prime than ever.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
Right.
Really?
Because it looks like the car.
Right.
It looks like it. You know what I think it is? I think it leads to the imagination of the person who's looking at it like, oh my God, what is this guy going to do to this car? Or I remember my brother used to have that same car and it was just looking like that. And he painted it. So like you said, they're time capsules, and they're like memories. I mean, like, because each and every one of us know someone who probably had a first gen Camaro or a GTO or Le Mans, and even when we were in high school, I could think back of, if you say a 69 Camaro, I could be like, oh, my boy Nelson had one. You could say any type of car, 72 Grand Prix, Clay, he had one. It was Monaco, 66 Riviera, whatever. So even though 69 is my favorite year for Rivieras, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, I think they bring back memories, and no matter what you do, I remember I was we have a Dairy Queen near my house, and I remember I took my 69 Camaro, and I just pulled into the Dairy Queen to get ice cream, right? And there was a Ferrari, there was a Porsche, because it's like in upper New Jersey, there's a Ferrari, there's a Porsche, a couple of Porsches, they were lined up there, and here's my 69 Camaro in primer, right? Kid gets out. Now I'm sitting online. You could tell exactly who these cars belong to. You know, I'm sitting online, right? And I notice a little kid comes up, right? You know, with his mother. And first thing he says, he had been about maybe 6 years old. Ma, look, it's a race car, right? Pointing to my 69 Camaro.
Right. Yeah.
In primer, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And his mother was like, no, don't touch the car. Don't touch it. I said, no, he can open that door. That cool kid is cool. Get him in there because you know what? You got these Porsches and all that. I don't know. Maybe he's rich and he sees these and he's never really seen a 69 Camaro, but he's a car kid. And I was like, get in that car. Go ahead. Open it up, you know? And
primer or like that, or your car, Ray, there's a story to that moment in time. When you see a restored car, it's like a new car. Okay, it's new. Somebody's fixed it up. But when you see it with the flaws, I mean, kind of like a human being. When somebody's got some flaws about them, there's a story behind that.
Some bruises,
Why are they like that? What happened in their life? I mean, it's like a scar. Oh, I got this scar skateboarding when I was in 6th grade. I went down Linda Rosa. Should have never skateboarded down that street on those crappy wheels. And, you know, smashed my wrist and got a scar. Still there. Oh, yeah, I remember that day. That's the day my mom took my skateboard away. So,
well, that's how I vet out the car guys I meet. I just ask them about that car. Hey, how'd you do that? Or where'd that come from? And then if it's, I bought it that. Okay, next.
Oh, you're harsh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey, guys, I got to jump ship.
All right, Lewis.
Later, Lewis.
Hey, Mark, appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, your family. Just pop in anytime you want.
Too kind. And thank you. Good to meet you, Squirrel. Brian, got a turbo buddy now on board. Call me, you guys. I should have you on my show. You're welcome anytime, okay?
Hey, listen, you can stay on. Ray is going to start the after party, but I got to go to bed.
Well, I got to jump. I've got to jump ship too. I got to get ready for an early morning show from a guy calling in from Switzerland, of all places. So,
all right.
But really good to talk to you guys. Thank you for letting me invade the party here. I really appreciate that.
Anytime. Hey, anytime you want to throw me a couple guests, feel free. I'm always willing to take a couple.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you
later. Take care, gentlemen.
Good night.
Be safe.
Be safe, Terry.
Bye-bye.
All right. Oh, yes. So, what the fuck? Where is that guy? Got him. It's in my cup. Bastard.
Well, I just got some good news today. All three of us in our family. Okay, my wife claims she doesn't have COVID, but I do. And my daughter does. And two of our friends that went to Ren Fair with us tested positive.
Oh, wow.
Except, and I told one person, I said, all those shots I had, this is supposedly a lesser variety.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I just laughed about that because I said, all those damn shots I got, and, you still catch COVID. What do you do?
Yeah.
Hey, you roll with it. You do what you got to do, and I don't think it'll be that bad. Truthfully,
it won't be because I've never had. The worst thing I ever had was the swine flu, which is I got a shot for the swine flu.
Wow.
Because I was in the Air Force and I didn't have a choice.
Right.
Because I come walking into work one morning at 5 o'clock and the goon squad is standing there with the needles.
Yeah.
And I get a shot. A few days later, half of our X-ray department is down with the flu. I would have been down, but I was only running 102 temp.
Wow.
And they didn't have enough people to run the X-ray shop, so I wasn't as sick as some of the others. So To this day, I've always hated flu shots.
Yeah.
Air Force flu shots.
Yeah.
Because you never know what they're going to put in them.
Yeah, right. While they got you, they might as well make a mixture.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah. We might as well experiment on you because you're a captive audience. But it is no big deal. I got a fairly decent immune system. I'll just be. Actually, I haven't been running a fever or anything with this one.
Yeah, I think you'll be fine, really.
But I think it's funny. Yeah, okay, so I had a degree of fever.
Speaking of, I did talk to John today.
Oh, yeah?
And he is, a little under the weather. He's, they still haven't gotten a solid prognosis on what's going on.
Oh, really?
He's going back for more tests and more this and that. So, I feel bad for him because I've been in that position where they're not giving you answers and you are feeling like crap. He can't get up and move around, which I told him even without being sick. I mean, if I just sit on a couch for too long, I can't get up and walk around.
Yeah.
My back.
He had his operation, didn't he?
He did. He had a couple, and they're doing more tests and more this and that. He's out of the hospital, so they don't have him booked up. That's the thing. So he's experiencing a lot of leg pain, and not being able to move may exacerbate it. I don't know. So, but he's going to go back. He went in for more tests. He's going to see another doctor and maybe another hospital. And yeah, I feel bad because I've been in that boat where you're just in that mill and you're not getting anywhere. You just want to do something, either fix me or end it. That's how I felt. But so we think about him, thoughts and prayers. He's got to get better. He's got to get better and back in action.
Yeah, that's
he's got to finish that car so he can get his wife's car built.
It's at the point right now where he's not even thinking about that stuff. That's we've all been sick and down and under the weather, and at some point your priorities start to shift, and getting better and getting out and health is like a number one.
Right.
Everything else, damn the torpedoes. So he's got a business to run too. That's that too. So
yeah.
So that's that. Hopefully he'll get some answers soon and get somewhere. But speaking of answers, Brian, I took this out of the shop and brought it home. My old son.
Yeah, your old. Actually, it was funny because that's yours. That doesn't unplug, right?
This is the piece that I need, the inductive clamp. No, it doesn't plug. It's hardwired. But let me tell you something. I just did a search tonight because I found the original owner's manual for this thing, and Sun was sold by Actron Manufacturing back in the day. And I had changed that clamp back, I think, in the 80s. So I wrote, inductive pickup lead. I had the part number and Actron Manufacturing, Cleveland, Ohio. So I Googled it, and Actron Manufacturing comes up to aerospace stuff now. But what I just found tonight was, let me open this other screen. I did a search for Actron Sun 7501 timing light lead pickup assembly. I get a Matco Tools hit.
Yeah.
A Matco Tools page opens up from the catalog, and with no image though. And it says timing light lead set in parentheses Actron. Now tell me how this works. They give you a part number, MTL leads, LEADS. And they say 5295. So just for the hell of it, I went into the search bar and I typed in MTL leads on the same Matco site, and it says there's no such. It doesn't come up. It's no
right. Well, you on the new catalog, it does not have. Actually, on the new catalog, there is a side window, and it will show deleted items. That part number has been deleted. It won't show. But it comes up on the side. I'll say show deleted or obsolete, and you click on that, and then it will come up with that. Now,
Well, I still
actually,
can't sign in, so that doesn't help me.
yeah, actually, it was funny because I was at the UD last night cleaning up and grabbing a few things, and I came across a rubber tub, or a bin, and it had 4 or 5 older test lights in it. I was going to try to bring that home this weekend and see, because I know one of them disconnected from the gun, and there was 2 of them in there that was hardwired. So I don't know if I just send you the guns and you take it apart and do it.
I'm thinking that the new gun I have is plugged, and I'm looking at this. These it's the battery cables and and they're all. I probably took this thing apart and changed it from the inside because there's no splices or no nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you probably took it apart, but like I said, I have.
I'm sure I did.
I don't know what. I know one of them was. I know I did a trade and it was a Penske light or whatever. But I want to. Oh, actually, here's the Penske one right here.
I was told that they're kind of all the same, and even that the bulbs are all the same.
Yeah.
Because I have a snap-on rollback light that's the Penske style. Yeah, I have a snap-on.
Now see, that one had a different lead.
Oh, that's got the old spark plug style. Yeah.
Yeah. Where's my there?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's the spark plug style.
Yeah. So, but I know that I found a bin. I mean, there was a bin at my UD there, and it had 3 or 4 timing lights in. And I was like, oh, I wanted to bring these home and go through them and send you dirty pictures. And, if you wanted, because I mean, they've just been sitting. I mean, if you wanted to take one apart and take what you need, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, sure. I found out that Actron, they're not going to. They're out of business. They're not going
right.
to. And I just did a generic search even for, the light for the lead, and I keep getting links to like eBay with timing lights for sale.
Yeah.
Like, if I was at this, I'm not going to pay somebody $40-$50 for a timing light I'm going to take apart. If I was at the swap meet, I'd get one for like $5. Those guys are giving them away,
Yeah.
Because people don't even know how to use a timing light anymore.
Yeah, no, like I said, I thought I had another one here. But I know that I had one that plugged in the bottom, and then I had a couple hardwired ones. I'll send them to you, Ray. I mean, like I said, I gotta get that stuff,
and I'll just take it apart. Yeah, a hardwired type, and I'll just take it apart, and I can't see that being anything. It's just got to be a coil in there. It's just like a toroid. It's just going to pick up the induction. It's all it is.
You just got to make sure that I guess it's got like a magnet in it, right? Or
no, I think it's it has a magnetic feel to it because it closes, but there's got to be just a coil. It's just like if you were to take a toroid or a coil, and they take about 90 volts to turn them on. You could pass a neon. You power up a toroid, just put voltage on it, and pass a neon bulb that has 2 leads on it, not connected to anything. Put it in that toroid, and that neon bulb will light up.
Yeah,
because it'll excite it. Excites the gas.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that works. The inductive pulse of the spark plug coming down the lead excites the toroid and sends it back to the bulb and makes the bulb flash. It's really a simple circuit. But
yeah. So like I said, I'll because I'm hopefully I can finally move or get the rest of the stuff out.
I tried everything out of there.
No, I got so much. I mean, it's just been such a pain, and a lot of it is just running out of steam at the end. At the end, and I'm really down to. I have a brake lathe to move.
Wow.
And I've got my hutch for my toolbox, and I've got 2 side cabinets, or not side, they're horizontal cabinets and I to be honest, I just don't have any place to really put them.
I know.
And for me to put I keep going back and forth if I ever get my toolbox cleaned off, I mean, I have, 20 feet long of a counter. You know what I'm saying? That's how. And I really didn't think I was going to get the hutch, but it was on a scratch and dent clearance sale. And the price, that hutch is like $4,500, and I think I got it for something like $900.
Wow. Yeah, you can't.
And I can't beat it.
No.
And of course, like I said, it's it's the hutch itself is what 86 inches long and 31 inches deep, so it ain't nothing light or little.
Right.
And
yeah, that's the problem. I've had that myself, where even when I was cleaning stuff out of work to bring home, and I had a shop and 2 storerooms that I had kind of full, it was always that big stuff, the heavy stuff. You wait till last, because it's not that you hope it'll go away, you just hope it'll magically move itself.
Yeah. And I've got two vintage Snap-on lockers, half lockers. I got a older Snap-on box, and I think and I have my original, or my very first Craftsman box.
Wow.
Sitting there. That's when it's when my first box was when Craftsman came out with like 3 different colors. They had the red, maybe it was just 2, red and black.
Then the gray ones were before the red. That was my first.
Yeah. Well, I have my dad's, which is gray. That's right. It was gray and red. It had a red trim, and then they had red boxes, and then they had I think it was the Pro Series, and it was black with chrome trim. And
one of the ones I have, the one I have at the shop, is red, but it has the drawer accents on it. It's the aluminum slides that have they're like aluminum with a red stripe, that kind of stuff. They did that in the 80s.
So I have that. Those, I mean, like I said, that's what's sitting there. And
yeah, boy, I tell you all the time, I wish I was closer to you, because I'd be buying a toolbox. I'm so out of. I have tools out of the toolbox.
Yeah,
it's like nowhere for them to go. I just can't put them.
Well, I told you what happened. It was like my 3rd year in business, and I had a Snap-on box. It was a 3-bay. It was a KRL whatever, but it was a 3-bay box. And I had it.
Where?
And it was funny because I guess I was in my 3rd year, and I was constantly being asked about coming to work for these shops, because I still have this problem. I walk in, and of course you see the guy scratching his head, and you're like, well, what's the deal? And you're like, well, let's start with the basics, man. Get a test light, and I still get dirty. I still can't just walk away. But it was funny. I told myself, I said, I'm going to put a price on the toolbox, and I'm going to put the toolbox on the truck. And I'm not going to put, if somebody comes out and buys it, I guess I'm going to stay doing this. Or if somebody doesn't buy it, I'm going to go back and turn wrenches.
Wow.
And, so I threw the box up on the truck, and, a couple people kicked. And, like I said, I never said it was mine. I just basically said, I'm selling it for a guy, and he's got to have this money right here. This is, there's no kicking the tire. There's no BS. Right.
Bottom line.
And I'll never forget, I had an older guy. He owned a body shop. And he came out, and I guess you could tell I was a little bit down. And he's like, man, I love that toolbox. And I was like, well, the guy's selling it, and this is what he wants. And he's like, oh, okay. And didn't really think much of it. And he paid gave me some money. I said, I'll bring you a ticket. Walked into the shop, hand him a ticket, and he hands me a check.
Wow.
And I was like, what's this? He goes, that's for that toolbox. Could you,
Wow.
When can you unload it? And I was like, part of me was like, damn it, I can't believe I sold it.
Yep.
So unloaded it. I still see it to this day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because it's in a paint shop. So it's like sprayed over. I mean, it's just, and, but it was funny. So I have 2 transmission tables also, and I had gotten some milk cartons and milk crates, and I had some boxes, and I laid all the tools in there, and I figured, how difficult could it be? I mean, the tool, right here. Well, probably about 6 months later, I had tools all over the place, dude. I mean, every time I went out to work on the tractor in the shed, and the girls coming out grabbing a screwdriver or what, I mean, there were tools. I mean, I couldn't find anything. And so I think it was my 5th year. So that was a year had gone by, 4th, 3rd, 4th. So it was like my 5th year or whatever. We're at the tool convention, and I won a toolbox.
Oh, great.
And
it's like you're cursed.
Yeah, so I win this toolbox, and so I asked him, I said, hey, if I want to upgrade to a 6 series and I want to go 31 inches deep, can I pay the difference? And they said, yeah, no problem. So, I ordered my blue with chrome with stainless steel top, and I put that in and ordered 2 half side lockers, and started. That's how it started. And of course, I still buy tools, and I still am a tool, Yeah. So then I bought another, I got another 3 bay, and then I ended up with a 2 bay and another half locker. And I'm like, shit, I got to stop buying sheet metal.
Yeah, right.
And actually, it was even funnier because I had a guy come by, a customer of mine, and he's like, man, I really like your toolbox. And I'm like, well, it's not for sale. Yeah. He goes, everything is for sale.
Right.
And I ended up selling him one of my toolboxes. And that's when I got on the kick, because we came out with the white.
I was going to say the white boxes are gorgeous.
Man, it is so beautiful. And what I wanted to do was I said, all right, well, I'll sell, I'll get rid of all the rest of my stuff, and I want to change over to white, because I wanted to put the GT 350 stripes on the bottom.
A white Revel X.
Yeah, and
right.
just...
He's got one of them. That is, he's got the top hutch, the side lockers. His is like the Cadillac.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Damn, is that nice.
And so, but then like I said, the white is beautiful, and if I could really do it, I probably would change them all over to white. But then I came across another blue one, and like I said, I've just kind of
there's like a denim blue that's really, really nice.
The Roy, yeah, it's dark. It's what do they call it?
That's
Roy.
Pretty cool.
What do they call that blue?
There's a lot of boxes. I like there's like an orange that I like.
Yeah.
There's like a purpley color that's really cool.
The purple one is a really nice is a nice color too.
Yeah. Nice.
And,
well, I gotta tell you, the most notorious, just down and dirtiest, sneakiest tool I think that Matco ever has made and sold is this. Because again, today, this thing got me. I was working on my Fiat, and I'd switched carburetors last year. I put a smaller carburetor, a 2832. I took the dual 36 off, and and I forgot that I had the choke was just all messed up. It wouldn't cold start, like cold idle or anything. So today I went out there and I started. It was really a combination of things. It was adjustment plus how vacuum lines had to go on. So I had, of course, I have this thing because I use chrome acorn nuts and locks and flats on the studs. And as I'm walking it off by finger, I just put this on the top of the acorn nut so I can lift it off.
Yeah.
Get the washers off. So I put this down on the cowl of the car, but then I had to grab something else. And I think I grabbed like, I don't know, it was like a screwdriver. And of course, this one comes flying with it because the magnet just grabs it.
Yeah, the magnet's
grabbed
strong.
everything.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the one I have in the garage, the magnet actually pulled out of it.
Yeah.
But the magnet pulled out. I'm like, hey, that's a new trick.
Yeah, the caps on, they do pull out. I'd put a little super glue on it before you lose the magnet.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose it. I'm just going to be stuck somewhere where I'm.
Yeah.
And wherever it's stuck, it's going to be there forever.
Yeah.
It'll be there forever.
That's the only thing I do have to say, and I get a lot of comments about it. Those our pocket pry bars are the.
I've been toying with the idea, but I can't honestly think of what I would use them for. And I think Clay might have said it like, if you don't know what you'll use these for, you don't know until you have them. You're going to use them for everything. But I mean, I guess if you're going to pry something that's small, I usually grab a little screwdriver like this.
Yeah.
So I don't know what are the popular uses.
Well, a lot of guys like them. They like them. The most common, and actually a lot of people want to buy just one instead of buying the whole kit.
It's 3, right?
It's 3 of them, and it's the one that's like at a 45.
Yes.
This one's has a little bit more of an angle, and not too many guys like that.
It's closer to a 90.
Almost, I don't want to say a 90, but
it's not a 90,
really,
no. It's like 60.
Yeah, but it really goes.
And the other one is just very, very gentle, right?
Yeah, and the other one's just straight on. It's just like what you have. I mean,
looks like a screwdriver,
but it's beefy. It's almost like that marine screwdriver, that carburetor one. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I get guys that will bend the one that you have up. They bend them up.
Really?
And they do, because I mean they're prime. I mean, they're really. And I tell them, here, this right here, will say, keep you from doing that. But they all say the same thing. It's too thick.
Oh yeah.
And
depends what they're prying. I mean, sometimes you got to get into small places.
So that's why, like I said, but out of all of them, like I said, and like I said, these are really close and bent. But the one that's not as much, this is the most common one.
Right.
And I've had, like I said, guys like it because, like I said, when they got intakes or valve covers or whatever, man, they just get this in the corner, and that's what they're using the other ones for. Because I mean, they're in there
with that little screwdriver.
So, but again, it's the mag. Of course, they all say, "Why don't they put a magnet on the end?" That's what that's the majority of it is the magnet.
I could see, that's like customizing it, taking it to the next level. I could see how that could be handy because you always need a magnet.
The biggest problem with this, and they are, they are USA made, is just the price. I mean, that's over $50.
Yeah.
Well, so most guys freak out over all that, especially in today's time.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I laugh. I don't want to jinx anything, but but in the last 3 weeks, it's been unbelievable in sales.
Really good.
And you turn around and you still have the same. I mean, you still hear there's no money or money so, and I keep looking like, then, you know, am I pushing a button to make? I mean, are these, you know, it's just, and you know, people are still buying new car. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's still. It's just crazy listening or seeing or feeling. I mean, we all feel the pinch.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, the stuff coming out of my dealerships I think is for the time, it's pretty incredible.
That's good. Okay.
You know, I mean, you know, I can't tell you how. I mean, I've got two of my buddies, you know, just came home with new Broncos, you know what I'm saying? They ain't no slouch, you know what I'm saying? So
right.
And I'm like, well, what happened to this money thing?
Yeah, right.
Who wants a $600 or $700 car payment? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. So
All I know is my new thing is I've joined a couple of lunch clubs. It's like the guys that are like, hey, want to go to lunch? Yeah, sure. So I got a couple ex-cop guys I'm hanging with. I go to lunch with them. And my other buddy who's retired is like, you know, I wanted to go out with him today, but he had to go do stuff for his wife. So it's kind of cool. I got to meet a buddy tomorrow. He's buying a car at the UD. And I agreed to, because he's out like in the next county, I agreed to meet him and take the money and deliver it. For the car. It's a lot of money. And so I said, listen, we're going to meet Friday. So let's meet halfway. Well, like meet at a diner, you know, we'll have like breakfast or lunch or something. You know, he's like, okay. So I got to see how he's going to bring this money back. It's going to be in a box or a bag or like what? I don't know how he's going to package it. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. And I
was he buying?
A 62 Lincoln Convertible.
Oh yeah. That's you were telling. Yeah.
And he did buy it, and he's just got to get it transported. Yeah, he got insurance through Haggerty, like $400 a year. Sight unseen. They didn't want an appraisal. They didn't want a picture. They didn't want anything.
Really?
I told them they probably want that because you're a new customer. I said I didn't have an appraisal look on my car once, and then every year since I've switched cars, changed the values and all, and they never asked for a picture. Now I even told them I painted my car, and they didn't ask for a picture. Like, I can't understand that. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, so he bought the Lincoln, and then he's going to do a 4-wheel disc brake conversion on it.
Oh yeah.
He's got to get new tires and wheels. Well, tires because they're old bias ply, but he's going to put some sort of a wheel on. I think he's going to not use the stock hubcaps. He's going to do something like a mag wheel to kind of give it a little bit of a pizzazz.
Yeah.
So he's going to put money into it, you know, right off the bat.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What color is it? Black?
No, the car is red.
Red, really?
It's red with a white interior and a black top.
Wow.
It would have had a white top. Yeah.
That's sexy.
Yeah. And the trim is all nice. I mean, it's not polished like mine is polished, but it's clear and clean. I mean, you can see some of that you know how the stainless trim, sometimes you get a little bit of that
haze.
Yeah, it almost looks like little scratches or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but it's clean. It's presentable. You know, it's definitely, it may not be show quality, but it's definitely presentable.
Is it like a orangey red or a bright red?
It's like a cherry red.
Oh, it's the candy apple red.
It's bright red, and there's a lot of it, man. That car is long.
Yeah, I know. That's big. That's a big car.
Long, man. Long.
Yeah.
So that deal's going to happen.
Because they had that poppy red, which was more like an orangey color.
Yeah.
You know, and then they had like a candy apple red. They had a red. I mean, they had a red.
And then I pick up my dual quad Holly Sniper injection setup.
Yeah.
I'll be picking that up on Saturday when I make the money drop. So get that, and then got to figure out when I'm going to do that conversion.
Huh.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work. But I tell you, the other night when I was at that cruise night, that Falcon I sent you, that was a cool car.
Yeah, it is. I
The
was.
only thing it needed that I think would have made it that much cooler would be a tilt nose, and it's not. But the guy this week, he says he's taken off the hood. He's got a hood with the typical teardrop scoop on it. He's taking that off, and he's putting on a cut scoop. The car is a dual quad tunnel ram motor. It's a 347. It's a Borden stroke 302, but it fits under that teardrop.
Yeah.
And it's like a mid-rise, high-rise. It's not a full tall. It's not the tall one. But he says when he puts the flat hood on that with the cutout, he'll have stacks that'll just stick out past the hood. So he's going to swap hoods this week, he said.
I had I always wanted a teardrop on mine.
Yeah.
I had
great with a Mustang. Oh, whoa.
Yeah. I had
Perfect. It's like a Chevelle with a cowl induction. It's like a Mustang, an early Mustang with a teardrop. Holman and Moody, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had I always wanted a teardrop on it, and I had a regular Shelby hood on mine, a 65, 66, the low scoop.
Yeah.
I had, that was actually, I still have, that's fiberglass. That was a fiberglass. I had that one. That was, and then I had a regular steel, it was the factory hood, the steel hood that came with the car, and we had cut it, and I had put a 70, I think it was a 70 Mach 1 hood on it. And that one was funny because we had cut it out just right. Carl, a buddy of mine, we had cut it out, and it just fit just right, and about, I don't know, an inch of it stuck out of the hood, so it it sat in that cover, and right in that cover. That was probably the best fitting hood on. That fit. The problem was with the Shelby one, with the intake I had, I had to run that stupid Edelbrock triangle filter, because it wasn't it was too tall. That was skinny enough to fit under the hood.
Yeah.
And if I ran a regular air cleaner, we had to put washers on the back of the hood to raise it. It was only like like 2 flat washers, whatever.
Yeah.
Just so I had clearance, because if not, the top of the motor kept hitting the hood.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. That was the same way when I had the cross rams on it, that dual cross ram. I couldn't run. I had no air filters on. Air cleaners on
it. What you said before is sticking in my head. What you said about your car, about not doing it because now it's safe where it is. That's not good.
I know.
You're killing yourself. You really hurt yourself. You are. And I mean that sincerely. You take that car out, you're not going to leave it. You're going to stay with it. You're going to bring it home. You're going to put it back in and chain it to the floor. We don't leave them like we did before. You're not going to take it to the movies and go in and, for 2 hours and come. You're not going to do that. You're going to watch.
The few times, I'm telling you, Ray, I look back, and even in high school, that car, where I parked that car, I could see it from majority of my classes.
Yeah.
And I used to, the few times, like I said, if I did go to a movie, I'd get up in the middle of the movie theater and walk out.
Yeah.
And, come back, and they'd be like, where the hell? I had to take a leak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
that's what I mean. If you take it out now, you go to a cruise night or Cars and Coffee, whatever the hell it is, and you're going to watch it, and then you're going to drive it home, put it back away. but
Yeah.
you got to do that to get that feeling back.
Yeah, I know.
And I tell you, you will. It's one of the best feelings that I've had in a long time. It really is. It's just so.
Well, I do have to admit, like I said, I'm not worried about ever. I would, like I said, the one thing that I really wish that it was still somewhat drivable, or get in and move it instead of pushing it.
Well, listen, that happens. Mine wasn't. My car, even when it was all together.
Hey, Vince, what's up? Got
It,
Vince there. He just popped up.
Who did?
Vince. He just said he came in the comments there.
Oh, there he is. Hey, Vince. All right. Yeah, and I sent Vince a picture because at the other cruise night on Friday night, I saw a cyclone. Yellow cyclone. That was another nice one. But yeah, when my car was, before I brought it back to the house and took it apart, and that's why I never took it apart. People said, well, why don't you start working on a car? Do a little at a time. I said, no, that's not how you restore a car.
Yeah.
That's how you lose the parts of your car. And I said, but more importantly, I had it in another garage. And I said, I can't take it apart over there. It's a storage garage, and if the lady wants me out, then what am I going to do? Take my car home in buckets. And I said, if I do it here at my house, I use my garage. I work out of it. I do other stuff. And I got a car and a half garage. You need like a 3-car garage to do one car.
Oh, I know, dude.
So as it was, I had stuff on top of stuff. And I said, no, because then if, I have to do something else, that's how you lose parts and misplace them. So I said, no, when I do it, I'm going to do it one and for all. I'm going to take it apart. I'm just going to stick to it until it's done. And that is what I did. There was probably a deeper meaning I had going into this whole story, but that's the way to do it. And then, but like I said, before I took it apart, I could have started and driven it, but it needed a restoration. It was just, the suspension was kind of on the shot side. If I went over dips, I think it was the drive shaft was hitting the tunnel. It was brr, brr, you'd hear it.
Oh yeah.
The body bushings was shot. I
still remember the last day of driving it.
Okay. Yeah.
And that had no hood, had no fenders, no hood. That's the only thing I kicked myself in the ass. I had taken the fenders off. I saved the hood, but the fenders I had bought, they were reproductions. And this is, 30 years ago. I wish I had those reproductions rather than the reproductions that are made today, just
right.
And and actually it was funny because of course this is sometime later, it's probably like 15 years later. I went back to the woods where I dumped those fenders off to see if they were still there.
Oh, really?
I said, I'm going back. Of course, this was out in some farm, this is out in some cornfield out in the middle of, Timbuktu. And
yeah,
I drive out there and it's like on the edge of the neighborhood now, and I'm like driving going back in this woods and looking around. Of course they're gone, but the last day, actually my brother took a picture of me pulling out of the driveway and from my parents' bed, or from my old bedroom, pulling out of the driveway. And I said, oh yeah, it won't be long. And
all right, so we probably talked about this in the past, but I don't remember. What do you need to do to get the car back up and running again?
Well, I had see, and this is where I had the problem. I have, or I was going to, cut the shock towers out. I was going to take the shock towers out and put in.
That's a nice mod. Yeah, that's a nice mod.
I was going to do that, and my problem was I couldn't bring myself into cutting.
Okay.
So the car is actually like right now. Of course, one day you'll see it. Don't worry, you will see it.
Yeah, I'm going to come down there and see it if I have to.
It's sitting on jack stands, and it has nothing. I mean, there's no front suspension, no engine, no trans, no interior. All the glass is out of it. I had taken it right before I bought the house. We had put, or not, I can't say we. I had a guy put in floors. The floors were put in, and rear quarters, and that's when I did the Shelby, the Thunderbird lights in the back,
Right,
and let it in. We let it in the, no, I didn't. He did. Let it in the trunk lid,
nice.
And I wanted him to do the doors, and he told me that he would not do the doors.
Do what
with lead? Lead the no handles.
Okay. Did you take the glass out to repair for paint?
Yeah.
Okay.
And to put, when I did the quarters, I took I had the back window out and everything.
Right, so let me ask you this. Would paint be a prohibitive factor in getting the car done?
No.
Okay.
I mean, that's why, like I said, I'm at the point, or I've come to the, then, okay. So then you speed it up here. And it's funny because now when I go out and see all these cars, these Mustangs, my vintage, they're all hacked and cut up to no end.
Right.
And then I start thinking, because of my VIN number and what the car is, it's an A car. It's a 289A, which was a premium 4-barrel, 225 horsepower. And I had the pony interior. So there was only something like 4,500 out of the 1 million made, or, 100, whatever the fastbacks were, So it's a low number car for what was made.
Okay, but you've already modified it.
So then I kept saying, well, maybe I shouldn't cut it up and just put it back together.
From what I've seen with the shock tower removal, they could be put back.
Yeah.
But so you have the motor, it's black. So
you remember that.
You can paint it. You have a transmission?
Yeah, I got the 4-speed.
What about make it, this is the problem a lot of guys have problems with. And I didn't, because I'm not that kind of guy. And I'm not saying you are either, but I think I've seen too many guys set their sights way too high.
Oh, yeah.
I always had low expectations. Like my friends, they're all in low places. I have low expectations. This way I'm not disappointed too often. And I just was shooting for driver. Like, I just want to drive it, and I don't care about paint. That's it. I liked it in prime.
Yeah.
And I drove it with no interior, just like seats bolted into it, no carpet. No door panel.
Yeah.
I drove it like.
I drove that car for years with no headliner, and the same way.
So what about put it back as a roller first, get the suspension in, do what you want to do to it, brakes and whatnot, do all of that the right way, then engine and tranny. Now you can drive it.
Yeah.
And then you can, you can get it painted later. I'd put the glass back in it and drive it the way it is, and just bomb it around. And believe me, the smiles per mile it's gonna be huge. Probably now, like even now when I take my car out, I think I was happier with it in prime than I am with it in paint.
Yeah,
I really was.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I can kind of, I can kind of see. I can kind of see that. Other than, I mean, it's that yellow. What was that stuff called back then? It's been sealed with that. It's that yellow
epoxy primer.
Yeah, that yellow epoxy primer.
My fear was that, and people, you say you paint the car yellow. No, it's epoxy primer. I said you can't hurt this stuff.
Yeah,
that's bulletproof.
Yeah, so I mean, I will admit, I would probably scuff it, and it would probably be primed black. Actually, I don't know. I'm not going to lie. I do want to drive it. I mean,
that's why I say make it a roller and make it drivable, and then you can do the next stage later. A lot of guys, I mean, there's a lot of people who are, I think most people that I've seen, they pull a car apart and they send the body out for paint, and then they do the rest. I did the opposite. I had the body, in prime. I had some metal work done and prime, and then I just did I had the rear end rebuilt. I did the suspension, rebuilt the engine. I put all the rolling gear in it, and I had it painted last, which I could see how the other way could be nicer because you don't get overspray on stuff. It could be a little cleaner. Now I got still got body shop dust crap all over the place.
Yeah, you'll always have that body dust. That body shop, dude. Whew.
But you know what? I was looking at it today. I was doing some stuff under the hood, and I had the hood up, and the under the hood is black, and there's like some, I guess it's polish, like white specks. I wet my finger, and I tried to get it, and it didn't come off. I was like, who cares? Give a shit. Close the hood. I'm going to drive it. And at the end of the day, it makes me happy. And
that's awesome.
And like I said, the clock doesn't go backwards; it only goes forward. And I say go for a roller, and then when you get it in that shape, my prediction is, because I think you're a lot like me, you'll just enjoy driving it so much you won't care. You'll say, you know what, I'm glad I did this. I should have done this years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so you own that one, and then it'll be a couple of years, and then if you want to if you get the bug to do more, you can do more, and the car's already a driver, so you don't have to worry about,
Yeah.
If you like what I'm going to do.
Well,
now.
I still keep going back and forth because I've got. I mean, like I said, I can put the, independent suspension. Put a rack, the whole 9 yards. I keep going back and forth on that, and I don't know. Like I said,
it's funny, the Mark. I was the only person he didn't get to with his question, but the car that I was going to say, it's not a car that I even own, but one I'm glad I never owned because I was always disappointed when I drove them, was any 60s and 70s era Chrysler.
Oh, yeah.
The freaking steering was always so loose and vague, and the brake pedal was always so higher than, just the ergonomics of those cars were just miserable for me.
Uh-huh.
But the rack is nice. If you can get one and get the right parts to put it in, that's cool. If not, I don't have a rack in my car, and I don't cry. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But I tell you one thing, with the suspension that I did and the tires I have, the car handles like it's got a freaking rack in it. It's like 90-degree turns.
Then, like I said, again, because of the time that has gone by, the technology and the parts are so much better.
Well, that's where guys get into trouble when they buy it. And I did this too. I bought a lot of stuff even back in the 80s because I had some money, and I didn't get burned
as bad.
I didn't get burned too bad. My brother did that with a car he was building, and he bought wheels and the matching steering wheel and the matching mirror. It was all that flame cut billet stuff.
Yeah.
And then he put it on the car. I was like, dude, this stuff is like 12 years past the due date. It's like you just built a dated car. Like you bought Krager's and stuck them in the corner. No problem.
Yeah.
So I didn't do any of that. I bought like my stainless steel brake lines. I bought like an MSD. I bought an HEI coil, which now I'm not using HEI. I bought line lock, and I bought what else? Some gauges. I bought stuff. A lot of it was still usable. It wasn't dated. So I didn't get. I bought braided steel, braided stainless steel hoses. Some stuff I got, I'm not using that I got beat, but yeah. And then for the steering box, I found out that the Monte SS out of the 80s, that steering box is direct bolt in. You either got to use the metric, it's got metric lines. So I found a place that made converters, a line converter for the hoses. And then you either have to use the I kept the factory power steering pump, the original one. So I had a line converter on that too. So you can't tell by looking at it. It all looks like it's original stuff, which I don't really care about. But
Yeah.
it gave me like 3-turn lock to lock.
Yeah.
That was fine. But again, yeah, it was really about driving it, and I remember, first time I took it out in the maiden voyage, I remember feeling like I did back in the 70s when you'd like do a motor swap over the weekend, motor and tranny,
Yeah.
and change. And that first time you took it out, you don't know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, is it going to shift right? Is it going to stop right? How's it going to accelerate? Like, what's it going to do? And it was cool, man. It just takes you right back to those days. It's priceless.
We did a motor swap at a buddy's house, and it was like you said, it was had to get it ready to go to school the next day. You know what I'm saying? And it's like 3 a.m. and we get the thing running. Of course, the smoke and the noise, and of course it sets the fire alarm off in the garage, and his old man comes out, and it was what a.
When I worked in Queens. I worked in electrical corporate headquarters, electrical company, and the boss I was doing metallurgy at the time, and he was a real academic, PhD, super brain, and just knew where to put the key and gas in his car, and from having me work for him, and hearing the conversations I had with other guys, and what I would tell him, he was like, "Wow, I can't even imagine a world like you live in," because he never did the things that we did,
Yeah.
But I remember one day we would always talk on a Friday about, what are we going to do for the weekend? He was a big, at that point in his life, it was about going out to dinner, and food with his wife, and, or some art show or whatever. He's like, "So what are you doing this weekend?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be, I got to swap a motor in my car." He's like, "Huh? What?" I said, "Yeah, I got to pull a motor and tranny out, put another one in. And, I'm going from a small block to a big block. So it's a bolt in, but I got to do some, I got all the parts I need." He's like, "Wow. Well, I guess we won't be seeing you on Monday, huh?" I was like, "Why?" I said, "I'd like to take the day off and go cruising, but why wouldn't I be here Monday?" "Well, you can't possibly get all that work done in just a weekend." I said, "What, are you kidding me?" Yeah. I said, "Tonight I go home. I got a buddy coming over to help me take the hood off, because it was a Monte Carlo with a 9-foot hood." I said, "And then tomorrow morning, Saturday, I'll just get out. I'll get out there in the morning. I'll pull the engine and tranny out." I said, "I got some engine bay cleanup to do." I said, "And then by Saturday, I'll get the other engine and tranny in and start reassembling it. And Sunday, I'll just pick up where I left off. And probably by Sunday afternoon, evening, it'll be running. I'll drive it to work on Monday." And he's like, "Well, if I can't imagine that, but if you can't do it, if you can't come in, don't worry." Well, unfortunately, I didn't drive it in Monday, and the only thing that stopped me was I put a big block in the car, but I kept the exhaust manifolds. So I bought brand new Walker exhaust, tip to tail, and the guys gave me the wrong flanges.
Oh yeah.
So Sunday, when I'm putting the exhaust up, I couldn't make it fit. And of course I cut the old stuff. The old stuff was for a small block. It wouldn't have fit anyway. And that's why I didn't drive it in. I drove it in Tuesday, but it was funny because my neighbor at the time was a transmission rebuilder and a hot rodder from way back. And he kept coming out over the weekend and, "Hey, how's it going? How's it going?" Yeah, I give him my update. Good. And he had at the time a daughter who was about 3 or 4, and they had just had a son, a baby boy. So Sunday night, he comes out, he sees the lights on, he comes out, he goes, "Hey, what's going on?" He said, I figured I already heard this thing. Now we're in Queens. We were right on top of each other.
Yeah.
Property was 28 by 60, whatever it was. And I'm like, "No, Bob," I said, I can't start it. I said, "I can't go." I said, I can't put the exhaust up. I don't have the right flanges." He goes, "Well, you got to start the motor." I'm like, "With open exhaust manifolds?" I'm like, now it's getting to be like 10 o'clock, 10:30.
Yeah.
I said, your son's bedroom is right there. And I know your kid's bedroom is in the back of the house, right where I am. He's like, "Hold on a minute." He goes in the house. He comes out a few minutes later. He's holding his daughter. His wife is holding the baby. He goes, start it up. He goes, I gotta hear this thing. And I was like, okay. Primed it, open exhaust manifolds. He was like, okay. He goes, now I can go to sleep. Good.
That's awesome.
Man, you can't make this stuff up. What a neighbor, you know.
I tell you, I had literally, and I mean, in the Mustang, when I came up the street, all the windows would vibrate, you know, going through the neighborhood, you know. And when I pulled it into the garage, when I backed it in, everything on the first floor of the house would shake, you know. And so when I bought my GT, my Elizabeth, the next door neighbor, she was ecstatic because she goes, oh, is that your new car? And I was like, yeah. She goes, oh, so you got rid of the old one? Because when I went out, you know, at 7:00 in the evening to go out for the night, that's when she was putting the kids to sleep.
Right.
And of course, me firing up the Mustang and driving through the whole, you know, everything. She goes, everything shakes when you leave, you know, and I'm barely moving, you know, just going up the hill. So I said, oh, no, I still have that. And she goes, oh, okay. She was so disappointed. She thought I had gotten rid of my old car.
She was hoping.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's a good question. What are your plans for exhaust on the car?
I had 3-inch. I had 3-inch that ran back and dumped right out in front of the rear axle.
And that fit. Okay, that's big.
Yeah.
Headers, right?
Yeah, I had headers. I don't have any headers anymore. Those were trashed.
Would you consider going full length to the back?
Well, if the only problem that we had, or the problem I had not put them on, you know, I have coilovers for it. Okay. You know, I was going to do coilovers in the back, but I guess it's actually kind of funny because I had the GT cutouts, you know, in the valence on the car. At one time I had pipe. I mean, I had dual, you know, I had the exhaust that went out, but
that's nice.
There was a place down the street, or there was a place that bent exhaust. And it was actually kind of funny. I wish I had. These are times when you wish you had a camera or pictures, you know, like your phone, because when you laid underneath the car, you couldn't even see the drive shaft, you know, because everything was so tucked up, and the exhaust came back, and I had God, what were those things?
Glass packs?
No, not glass packs. I had
turbo mufflers.
Yeah, like those Sonic Turbo. Oh, no. I'm sorry. No, because I had resonators out of a GTX. A Buick GS. That's what it was.
Okay.
I had, so they were 3 down to 2.5, and they dumped out right before the rear axle.
Right.
I still have them. They're in the shed.
Speaking of, you just reminded me of something I found today, just to back up a minute. Driving a Fiat. And last year, I took it out in June, got it inspected, and put it back in the storage drawer.
Yeah, I saw your picture today.
Yeah. I didn't drive it. Yeah, it was just something I thought of, like that, because we were talking about the steering wheel. That's what I wanted to post something about that. But you know, I'm driving it today, and I'm hearing this clunking noise from the front right. I remembered, like, oh yeah, I remembered hearing that last year. I never looked into it. And the first thing that came to my mind is those cars were kind of known for the engine cradle would crack a lot of times, and you'd have to weld it up. So I said, okay, I hope that's not it, because the car I stripped, that's the one thing I didn't take out of it. But I had the hood open today playing with the carburetor, and I went around to the right side, and I'm looking down at the shock, at the top of the shock. I got, the hell are they? They were out of my friend's race car.
Bilsteins or Conies?
They're Bilsteins, because he lost a ball joint. He used to do road racing, lost a ball joint. So the bottom of the shock rode the track and it's flat.
Oh man.
But I'm looking at the top of the shock and saying, wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture? The piece of inner fender that it goes through, it blew it out. So it just blew out a hole. So now the shock was just going up.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh shit, how am I going to fix that? I got to get something around. I got to weld something in to remount the shock tube. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So it's always something. But,
yeah. You had to find
I got some really big washers. I mean, they were like industrial size, like 3-inch across.
Yeah.
I got to check the middle hole. But, backing up again, would you consider, have you ever thought about like an overdrive transmission for your car?
Well, I see, and I know they've gotten better, but I always hated that cable setup thing that they had.
I was going to put that in my car. I was going to run
a
clutch. And I got a bell housing that would accept it too, out of a Monza of all things.
Yeah, they had. There's a couple of them that I see on up here on Sunday mornings, and they open. I hate that whole clutch cable thing.
You don't have to do that because in my buddy Mike's car, I always forget if his Mach 1 is a 69 or 70. I think it's a 70. It's got 4 lights, not 2.
Yeah, that should be a 70.
We've gone through this before. Whatever. Yeah. The previous owner's got a 351 in it, and the previous owner put a T5 in the car, and that has a mechanical clutch linkage.
Oh, yeah?
The problem is his rod isn't long enough to fully adjust right, but it's in there, and it works. I drove the car. So you can do a regular Z-bar setup on a T5.
Oh.
He's got it in his car, so.
Huh.
The only problem with that is I think the shifter, it's the stock shifter, that kind of angled shifter with the lemon drop.
Yeah.
It's a little too far forward. It should be back more. So I don't know if you can move it in the T5. Like in my Tremec, I can put it in like 3 positions.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do it on a T5, but you may need like even the shift handle that comes back, which is definitely not my favorite shift handle in the world. But I tell you, the OD definitely is a whole nother game changer for cruisability.
Yeah.
I mean, mine doesn't come in till over 70 miles an hour, of course. So I should just keep like ticket blanks in my car and just fill it out. I know what you're doing. That's all right. Just fill it out. That's all right.
Yeah, I'll sign the bottom, mail it to me.
All right. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah, like I said, I know that there's a ton more options for that, and having that ability.
But if you got a 4-speed, so throw it in there. What the hell? Use it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, like I said, I think I would just go right back to
at this stage in your life, with your kids being older and now on their way and secured with their path in life, which is good. That's what we do. We want to get them to that spot. Now it's time for a little daddy love, man. It's time for you. I mean, your wife may argue with me, but okay, that's all right. I've had that argument before, but hey, listen, you gotta. It's just like in an airplane. They always tell you if there's a problem in an airplane, you're going down, you put your oxygen mask on first so you can help somebody else. If you don't take care of yourself first, you're really not happy. You're not going to be taking care of anybody else. You're not going to be the right.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I go back and forth. I really just need to do something.
I think if you do start, it's like any other project. We start a project and it's almost like reading a book. I know in the first couple of pages, is this book, do I want to finish reading this? And, sometimes you'll stick with it and then surprisingly it gets good. But sometimes it's a dog 50 pages in. I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm not going to read it. And other books, the first page, it has you. You're reading.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is a page turner. It's the same thing with projects. You start a project and sometimes you're not really into it. You're going to be into that project. And
I guess really, Ray, the bottom line is on that is, and I don't want to sound, I don't know, weird about it, or not weird. I don't want to sound. I guess it's the thing about where to start.
Good point.
Because I'll send you a picture. I mean, there's no wiring harness. There's nothing in the I mean, it is a shell of a shell.
That's what mine came out to be too. So what? My older daughter said to me, because she watched me put it back together, and said, Dad, she goes, I didn't really doubt you that you could put this car together. She says, but I really couldn't imagine how it was going to happen, because it was like there was so many pieces and it was so far apart. She goes, how do you know where everything goes? I said, it's like building a model. I said, you built 50 miles, you know where to start. I said, this is all I've done all my life. If I don't know how to put this back together, you better just ship me off now,
Right. So I think that's, because it was funny. I don't know when that was. It was kind of funny. My Facebook came up today and I had a 10-year memory, know, and actually the 10-year memory was here on Playing in Traffic.
Wait a minute. I thought I was only doing this like 6 years. Does you mean 10 years went by already?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I think it was 10. Let me just double check. I don't know if I can do this again. How do I find that? Well, however it goes. But there was another picture in there of me working on the car. Nice. There was a picture of me messing with the car.
Nice.
And the funny part was, I remember that day as in I'm still taking parts off of it.
Yeah.
And I told myself then I have to stop taking parts off of it and start putting it in. I was like, where do I start? Because I can't tell you how many times I've stood in the front of it with my saw ready to cut.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, do I really want to do this?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm with you, because this one thing I didn't do, I put vintage air in my car, and I bought the eyeball diffusers for the right and left side of my dash, and I couldn't bring myself to cut in the holes, so I didn't put them in. And one of the reasons is, and this is the excuse I use, is that metal isn't flat. It kind of curves down. So you're drilling on a curved surface, and it's a little more difficult. And
see, here it is, 10 years. And there's Playing in Traffic.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, the cutting thing, that would give you the coilover ability. I mean, if you're really that sketchy about cutting, then don't cut it. Put it back, leave it the way it is, and just put the motor back in like that. I can understand.
Well, it's not. I guess I used the wrong words. Just that. Well, I keep going back. I guess it keeps going back in my head about. I go out and look at these cars that have it, and I understand the. It's kind of like what's his name, Steve from Barrett Jackson, Menante, right?
Oh yeah.
Because when he said when one of those cars rolls by and he says no foul, no harm or whatever, I keep saying, well, maybe I'll still have that purist or that. I don't know, dude. I get crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, but
maybe I'm overthinking it.
First of all, why do you care about the purists? Because you're not selling the car.
Yeah, that's true.
And second of all, you modified it already with the taillights, so it is changed.
Yeah.
I always tell people, people say to me, well, Chris used to say to me all the time when I was starting a project, how come you're not doing it stock? How come you're not going to do it original? I said, well, the car wasn't stock and original when I got it. It already had a 12-bolt Chevy rear end in it at 10 years old. I said, and I just proceeded to change it from there. I said, so it hasn't been original since I got it. I said, and he says, well, why wouldn't you put, get a 389 and put the original tires and brakes? I'm like, well, 4-wheel 9-inch drum brakes. Yeah, they stopped really well. And 7.75 by 14 bias ply tire. I'm like, you know what? If I built that car original, I wouldn't want to drive it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, ew, I wouldn't want to drive. I said, I got to build something that I'm happy driving. And yeah, you know what? If I could go back, I might not have made the suspension as stiff as it is. I might have, because I was in 2 cars this week, 2 A bodies this week, a Buick Skylark and a GTO that kind of float down the road. And it's like, wow, I went with my friend Kevin in his goat, and I said, yeah, this is the comfortable car. It just kind of floats. You get in my car and it's like, hang on, man, boom, boom, boom. It's like, it's stiff, it's tight. It's, it's like you changing lanes, like flick, flick, flick. But it's, what are you going to do? You can't have both worlds.
Nah.
Yeah. Well, my buddy Bill is saying same thing. First step, make it a roller, get the suspension in. You don't need the fenders or the interior, right? Then the engine harness, get it turnkey, and go from there. And I would agree. Are you going to use the original the harnesses you have, or buy new stuff?
I still have. I mean, I have the original stuff, but over it's pretty hacked up.
Well,
I mean, I would.
You, like me, I was preaching to my buddy Mike, restoring his cars, about buying new harnesses, and he didn't want to do it because they're so damn expensive. I said, I know, I get it. And he says, well, wait a minute. He goes, that's a little, what's the word he used? I don't know. He said, he called me out on it. He says, you have an original harness in your car, don't you? I was like, yeah, I do. I said, but I went through it wire by wire. I took it out of another car and added to it, and I went wire by wire and put a new fuse box in the car. I said, so that's up to my satisfaction that's okay.
Yeah.
And he says,
yeah, I would probably just for, I mean, I would put a new harness. I mean, go the whole, I mean, I would,
all right.
I mean, just because I mean, having everything out of it. I mean, like I said, there's not one wire in the car, and it would be kind of stupid to put in. I mean, it was funny. There's actually, I don't know if I can find the picture, but I had the factory, the Mustang fuse box looked like a pack of cigarettes next to, I had a fuse box out of a 911.
Oh, geez.
You know what I'm saying? And it was like, this 911 was a size, that big, and here next to a little pack of cigarettes of this, 4 fuses, 5 fuses.
I kept the factory fuse box in my car. It's more than 5, but yeah, it's certainly not expanded. But I knew I wasn't going to be adding a ton of electrical stuff anyway. So
yeah, well, no, that's true too. But I'm just saying, if you got a painless or whatever kit,
if I was going to do that, I would have gone with one of those little CAN bus systems where they have the modules. And I said, you know what? No, now I'm going somewhere that I don't need to go.
Yeah.
I don't need to do that. I just keep it simple, stupid. You know what? Because you get in that car, you start it up. When you start driving it and you hear those mufflers, you're like, yeah, this is what I'm in this for. This is why I'm doing this. Shifting those gears. That's what the feeling, that clutch feel to take up. Like, yeah, that's why I'm doing this.
Well, like I said, I mean, I didn't even for I don't even know how long. I didn't even have a radio in the car. So, I mean, I don't, I went through that phase where that's the only thing that kind of pisses me off. I cut those side panels out in the back and had subs and speakers, and I had all that shit in that car at one time.
Yeah.
And,
oh, speaking of that, if you come across in your travels, one of the old, plastic boombox tubes, the bazooka tubes. I need one because I had one in my Fiat that I got from a guy, and he says, yeah, it was intermittent, something with the power. So I hooked it up, and it was intermittent. So I actually took the power wire and ran it. Instead of going through the plug, I went straight into the amp. It's powered, and I ran it for years, and it was great because I got Nissan Pathfinder speakers. They actually mounted them up on the rear roof facing forward. And I put them sideways in my kick panels on the Fiat.
Oh, yeah?
They fit perfect. And then I put tweeters up on the the windshield just to give me some highs.
Uh-huh.
Your car's a convertible, and I put the base tube in the trunk. And I tell you, that rounded it out. 70 miles an hour, I was able to go down the highway. I could crank the tunes, and it sounded great.
Yeah.
Well, the base tube stopped working. I guess
Oh.
it finally gave up the ghost. And they're not really around anymore. So I got to and there's not really many swap meets, but somebody's got one sitting somewhere in a shop or garage. And, keep your eyes out. And if you
was that an 8 or a 10 or something? Do you know?
Oh, small. No, I know 8 or
Oh.
a 6 is fine for that car. It's a little tiny car. It's
Yeah.
only a little spider. So, 6-inch should be fine. But the tube itself is about 2 foot long.
Right.
And then, but yeah, I think the speaker in there is a 6, and that was plenty. That's all I need. So,
Time to make your own.
Well, I was thinking about it, and I was looking at it today, and I was playing around with the wires again, and I said, I don't know, I should take it apart and see if I can find something, maybe see what's in there. But it's just like when I was looking for the wheels for the FJ, it's like I know these things are laying in piles and in milk crates in guys' shops and garages all over the country, And I know if I get to a swap meet, I can pick one up for like $10,
A buddy of mine around the corner, he buys and sells, he's in that used car market. And it was funny. I noticed, let's see here. Was it Monday night? I think it was Monday night. I was coming home Monday night or Tuesday night. He had a FJ that was dropped off. And it was burgundy with a white top.
I needed a rear. This is another reason, another way I got screwed by the internet. I needed the door closer strut. It's at the bottom of the back door, and I went on this place called McGeorge Toyota in Virginia, and I've been buying stuff from them online. And there's another guy out west I got some stuff from, but I went on their site and I looked it up, and it came up, rear door closer, and it was actually a bracket. I said, you know what, the bracket has a little ball. The ball. I said, give me a bracket too. So it comes in, I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, what'd they do? Redesign this? It looked smaller. No, they sent me a strut for the rear window
shit. Yeah.
And the bracket for that. And because the diagram they had was just a parts diagram.
Yeah.
It was small and you really couldn't blow it up. So I said, okay, I got screwed. So I contacted him. I said, listen, got the wrong part. I'd like to return this. They said, yeah, if it hasn't been used. Okay. So I sent it back. I had to pay for shipping to return it.
Yeah.
They took the return, gave me a refund. And then I got the right part number. And I'm looking at it. The part was only like $32. But I'm looking and I went on to like 6 different sites. $32. They were getting between 32 and 38, but shipping was like $17.
Yeah.
I was like, now this is getting ridiculous.
Yep.
It's just a door strut. You throw it in an envelope. So it was just like on principle. I said, screw that. I already paid for shipping twice on one of these stupid things. So I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I called my buddy I actually sent him a text, the guy at the shop, and said, hey, Mike, do me a favor. Next time you order Toyota parts, put this part number in there. And he did. And it came in this week and he says, yeah, $32. I'm like, beautiful.
Wow, that's awesome.
It just made me feel better. So
it was funny because it was like Monday or Tuesday night I saw it, and I stopped in there today. It's one of my first stops. And I was like, what happened to that FJ? He said, man, that thing, he goes, I didn't even touch it. He said somebody came up, made an offer, and bought it.
Wow.
I said, what was wrong with it? And he said, oh, it just needed a little bit of work, and it had some noise or whatever. I don't know if it was, wheel bearing wise or whatever, but he had picked it up off of auction, and it was already gone. He goes, why? I said, I was just kind of curious.
Did he say what he got for it?
No, he didn't tell me. I didn't even go.
I was talking to the mailman today, and he loves the FJ. This guy's from, I think he's maybe from Jamaica. He's only problem on it's not a standard shift. I'm like, I know, but you know what? It's cool in an automatic. It still has 4-wheel drive. It'll go over anything.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the prices, and I said, look, even mine in the condition, it's got a couple little dents in the body. It's not perfect. I said I could probably flip that thing for 29,000 tomorrow.
Yeah.
I said it's just ridiculous. Because everything else in the thing is fine. It's great. I took it. I'll probably be driving it tomorrow again. It just drives well. It's quiet. It's quiet inside. It doesn't rattle. It just does everything right. It's like people get around you like, get away from me. You bought it. It's like, a truck will come in like, what are you going to intimidate me? No, you're not intimidating me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Like, go away. It's,
it's funny. I see a lot of them. There's a lot of them around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that voodoo blue for sure.
Me too. And I like if I had my choice, it'd be either voodoo blue or that Tonka toy yellow.
Yeah.
I like that color.
Yeah. That yellow. I'm not a yellow guy like that, but I do like the yellow.
Me neither, but there's something about that yellow. And there's
especially with the white top. It really.
Yeah. And there's one running around here, and he has Tonka decals on the truck.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's
that's funny.
Cool. And there's a woman that lives a few blocks from me. She's got a voodoo blue one because when I was going to work, like we'd get on like at the light, like one of us would be either in front or behind the other one, and we go up the highway together.
Yeah. So I love that voodoo blue.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
Listen, lady. If I wasn't married, I'd have to come check you out.
It's funny.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I don't know, Ray. Well,
I don't know.
I just have to.
Hey, those little pry bars come in blue?
They do, but I've had them on order for a while.
When you get a blue set, throw them in my box.
Yeah, I haven't even got my blue screwdrivers.
Wow.
I got my blue impact though.
Oh, that's cool.
1/2-inch gun.
Nice.
Man, I ordered 3 and only got 1. Walked into a shop and I had 2 guys fighting over it. And the one guy said, "You got to pay." I said, "Don't put me in the middle." I said,
"So look,
the bottom line is whoever puts the money in my hand,
highest bidder."
But
do I hear 600?
The blue was limited. It was
it is such a great color.
Yeah, that blue.
It is. I agree. It's a great color.
That blue is, and we just came out with the plier set, like dikes and adjustable.
Right.
We just came out with that blue. I don't know if that's going to be permanent or not.
That's the other thing I gotta do. I gotta bend a 13mm wrench for these carburetor bolts on this car because it's hard to get in. Like if you get a wrench in there, you're on an angle.
Yeah.
So I gotta just bend the wrench. I gotta find a sacrificial wrench, and I like a thin one too, like a Craftsman wrench. They're too thick.
Well, unless you get their Pro Series. I don't know which ones they were. They have I can't remember what it was called, but it was like, because it was polished.
Okay.
The wrench itself was polished.
Yeah. Like the ratchets. They had the ratchet line where they had the smooth handles that were polished.
Right.
Yeah.
And they had the wrenches, but
I got a couple of 3. I got a 3/8 and a 1/2 inch that are polished.
But the bottom line is, if you just find a gear wrench,
right,
one up the, just regular gear wrench.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just got to start someplace. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and I think if you start any place, it's better than not starting at all. So I'd say, you know what? If you're on the fence with cutting, then don't cut. Start somewhere else. I mean, put a harness in it first, or what are you doing with the rear end? Anything? You're gonna.
Well, I had that the 9-inch with the discs. That's what I was gonna put in it.
You know what? It's kind of funny. when I took my car apart, obviously pulled the engine tranny because that went out to the builder. But then the next thing I did, which I really considered the first thing, was I took the rear end out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because now the car wasn't movable, but now I really made sure it wasn't movable. But I took it out and sent it out to my buddy who rebuilt it for me. And that was the first part I put back in was the rear end. And I said, boy, what an asshole. What a weirdo thing to do. What an oddball part to start with. But I said, hey, you know what? Got to start somewhere. And that's just where I started.
So that's what so I've gone back and forth because like I said, it's sitting on jack stands. I mean, there's nothing there,
Right.
it's so I was like, God, I really wish I can get back to roll again, and then I was like, well, if I just put the rear back in and, do what I did, just hang the spindles back up on front. I had taken a railroad tie, I guess, and I cut it out to fit in the shock tower, because that was like the shock itself, that held it up,
Right.
and that's how I rolled it around for a while.
Yeah.
But then I was like, God, if I just, then, that's when I was going back about when I pulled all the coilover stuff out. And then I was like, well, if I just put the 9-inch will fit on the leaf springs. I mean, that's the reason why I got that came out of that Lincoln, that for Sile, it's the same.
Right.
I don't have to do anything. I said, well, if I just hang it on the leaf springs.
I think if you put the rear end in the car, then you walk around the front and look at those shock towers again, I think you'll be able to make a decision.
Yeah.
And then whichever way you go, you go.
Yeah. Because I was like, man, if I just, because like I said, I don't know, I can still put that rear end, hook up, because like I said, I got all the stuff for the disc brake. That's what I really was going to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to plumb it yet. I mean, do you have lines in the car, brake lines?
Oh, everything's gone. I mean, everything's out.
Okay, so get a brake line kit if you can do stainless. Buy it. I mean, there's plenty of companies out there.
I mean, like I said,
line tube.
There. I mean, like I said, I keep saying that. Like I said, if I just get up underneath there and scrub it down, lizard skin it, and put the springs back in with the rear.
I think just doing that is going to be a big enough. It's going to be a big enough change that you'll be able to see clearer what the next thing is going to be.
Uh-huh.
I think, and then once you get rolling, that's it. I mean, you still have to make decisions along the way, but getting started is everything. I mean, once you get started, until you get started, nothing happens.
Yeah.
When you get started, then things will happen, because then you'll see every step of the way you're that much closer, But yeah, I'd get a line kit, put the brake lines in, fuel line while it's up on jack stands. Get that rear end in there. You can plumb that up. Obviously, you're not going to fill it. You're not going to have a master yet or anything with the front brake. So, at least that part done, out of the way. Gas tank, get that prep, get that back in, done. So now the back of the car is kind of set,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can either work your way to the front or you could go to the interior. I like doing the mechanical stuff first.
Yeah.
So I would go back to the front, take care of the front end, whichever way you're going to go with that. And it could be a little easier to do the wiring with the engine out, to do the engine bay wiring, and then engine and tranny in, get into the dash, get that wired up. So you got, you can use the key, core support, radiator. Now you can start it.
Yeah.
And if you got everything else in with the brakes, you did the front end, you get the master in it, you bleed it. Now you could now you got a roller, and now you can take it out the street, and then you'll be thrashing to get it because you know you're going to be that much closer. Yeah. Like Bill was just saying about the tank, same thing I did when I had my tank out. I had it gel coated, and I had the guy put a drain in the lowest part of the tank because I worked on so many cars that had to have the fuel drain. That I said, you know what, I want to put a drain in here. So whatever comes to that, which hopefully it won't. But then the other thing I did was I had another bung put in the back wall of the tank for a return in case I ever did fuel injection. And guess what I'm doing now?
Yeah.
Injections. That'll be my return line. So yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, no, like I said,
sometimes all you need is just someone to talk to just jaw it out with.
Yeah.
And that gives you, that gives you the impetus to go forward. And hey, I'm always available to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. So, I know, like I said, I just, like I said, the last time, like I said, I had stripped the engine bay down because I was, cleaning the 20 years of all the times beforehand when you got the spray can out and sprayed,
Right. Oh, I had holes I had to weld up and
there's I guess I only have one bad spot on the shock tower. That's why I was want to remove them. There's one rust. I mean, I got a not even a quarter size where it's rusted. That's the only rust on the car.
That's not going to get better.
And that's why, like I said, and I've measured the car. It's a little bit out. I twisted that car up.
Yeah,
I had twisted the rear pretty bad in there. I oblonged the bolts going through the leaf springs. They were all oblong.
All right, so there's another twist. Get the rear in, get the front, get it turned into a roller. Then you bring it to a shop and have it pulled.
Yeah.
Just have it.
That's already been done.
Oh, okay. So
that's already been done.
You're ahead of me, Brian.
Yeah, I had that, like I said, and it's still a little bit off, but the guy, two of my buddies are body guys, and they said that was nothing.
You just start doing stuff like that, and that part of your garage just takes on a whole new life.
Yeah.
It's not that stagnant in sleep mode space anymore. Now it's a working environment.
Yeah.
So everything becomes happy. I'm telling you, man. It is. I would come in the house, and I got pictures of me too, just dirty from head to toe. And I'd sit there and just be like, and my wife would be, man, you look a mess. I'm like, yeah. She goes, you are filthy. I'm like, yeah. She's like, you get a lot of work done? I'm like, yeah. She goes, you're tired as hell. Yeah. She goes, but you're smiling. I'm like, yeah. Smiling. I said, because I'm happy. I said, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to do to be happy. I'm in my place. I'm in my zone. And
yeah. Well,
that's
I know it. I know I still have this one pile here, but I've cleaned a lot out, and I just need to finish getting everything straightened out of there so I can work. And I'm hoping I can get back. The last couple weeks, the last month and a half, 2 months have been a disaster, man.
Don't wait too long, because you know how fast the summer goes.
Yeah.
Once the fall and the winter set in, that's a whole nother ball game.
Well, it's actually kind of funny because I don't even know when that was. It was 3 years ago, I guess. We had a terrible winter. I mean, we had so much snow, and actually, there was a lot of days missed.
You had a worse winter than we did. You had a lot more ice.
Yeah, we had. And I kept saying, if I have another winter like that, I want to have time to work on the Mustang, and we haven't had a winter since then.
Boy, you never say anything like that. No, make it a summer project. You know what? You're happier in the summer. Door open. It's just nicer time to work. You know.
I don't know. It's heat and air conditioning in here, so
yeah, I know, but still, I don't know. I always feel better in the summer.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, like I said, my only problem is when I open that garage door up, and if I do anything, being on that main road, man, I always get some a-hole coming in. Man, it just
just park your truck in front of the garage. So
yeah,
just block it. You know,
build another. Actually, now that the deck is actually, I do what I used to do and work underneath the deck. The deck is now that the deck is finally done. Go out the back and it's nice and shaded.
Yeah.
What got the room?
Yeah, you gotta start so you can do that.
Well, hopefully, like I said, I'll send you a picture of me dirty.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I should just get the rear. Start with the rear.
There you go.
And
similar story. Start at the back. And then there's always something to do, even if you plan on doing something else, but you're waiting on parts or something's holding you up. There's always something else to do.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like I said, I tell you, pulling that all that dash, all that vent work, all that stuff is out. I mean,
And you're going to keep the stock gauges, the stock instruments?
Well, I had taken the stock dash and I had cut them out and put autometers in.
Okay.
So the only thing that was stock was the speedometer, but
Right.
all the other gauges were autometer.
And you're going to run that again? That's
Actually, the only thing that I would, I guess, because of, I'm trying not to be too anal about it, but I would want to find, a speedometer, speedo, to match the gauges, to make it all.
They sell it, One thing I found, it was kind of funny. I got 2 5/8 inch autometers under my dash, volts, oil, and water, and they were in there for years, running fine. And when I laid the car up, I put it back together, and all of a sudden the voltmeter didn't work. Like, it's just a freaking voltmeter. Yeah. So I had to buy another one, and it was like $60-$70. My friend Kevin, the same thing happened to him. He took that voltmeter out of his car, and then it was out of the car for a while, and when he put it back, his wasn't working either. So I'm like, what's with these autometer volt gauges? But you know what always looks good in an old car? A bag of tricks. These guys.
Oh, the old Suns. Yeah, look at that.
Got this one.
I
got a vacuum gauge.
Well, being a Ford guy,
oil pressure.
I really want to put a set of Stuart Warners in.
Yeah. I should sell these things because these go for big bucks, man.
Yeah.
But I hate to get rid of them because I never had them back in the day. I could never afford them.
Yeah.
And I looked at guys' cars that had these. It was like, oh, man, those are so tough. Those gauges are like the best. And I could never afford them.
Yeah, that's I love what were they called? They were Stuart Warner, and they were boat. What were they called? Boat gauge. Because they were rounded. The lens on the gauges were concaved or
convex would be domed.
Yeah, they were domed. Yeah,
I'm not familiar with those.
Because those were what was in the Shelbys, and man, those things are so beautiful. Big bucks, but I keep saying if I was wanted to redo my dash, I would do it with the Stuart Warners.
Well, put in what you got, and then like Bill was just saying, you need to go to Ford's or Carlisle. Then it's like, okay, you get a couple, a little bit of mama don't know.
We lost Ray. I guess I'm gonna have to end the show.
No, don't.
What happened, Ray?
I touched the USB. I was trying to take a speck. I got trying to take a speck of dust off my desk. I just touched the USB cable for the camera, and it freaked it out.
Oh, you're starting to come back now. You were real blurred for a minute.
Okay, yeah, it's probably
Yeah, I was like, damn.
Ray
fell off the edge.
It's after midnight, it's like, and I'm not even tired tonight, which is amazing. Got 9 hours of sleep last night. I did well, did good.
Damn.
But no, that's the thing. Like I said, the gauges, you can always, you go to, Bill was saying, go to Ford's or Carlisle, you got some mama don't know money. And that's when you say, hey, treat yourself to that expensive set of gauges and say, hey, I always wanted them. Now I got them.
Yeah. No, actually, see, I part of me is like, okay, Brian, just get the thing to be a roller and get it back together so you can drive it. And then it's like, yeah, but I don't want to do the things twice.
I know.
But the problem is I'm not going to get it. I got to get it moving, I guess, to get that motivation.
But think of it this way. Doing some things twice isn't bad as doing other things twice.
Yeah.
So like a set of gauges to do twice isn't a big deal. Swapping a tranny at this age or the motor or even doing the wiring harness twice, that gets to be sucky.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Don't let that stop you.
No. I gotta.
You're not going to be rebuilding the whole. Listen, and even though I did things that I felt were permanent, I've changed things, and I'm still making little tweaks and changes because now once you're in the driving stage, that's when you get into the critical stage and like, okay, how do I really want it? I didn't like this. I want to do that, and it's always a work in progress. Always.
Right.
Unless you do like Chris does and you do it stock, and then you know exactly what you're going to get because someone else did the blueprint for you. No, my blueprint was made by me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, it's. I have to admit. I feel better, or I feel like, I guess it's not wrong for me. Like I said, start at the back of the car, and get that part done. And like I said, and then, like I said, move up to the front, and then I just have to really make a decision if I'm going to go with strut towers or no strut towers.
Well, that's why I think if you do the rear and do some other work, maybe gas tank lines, and you come around the front, you look at it, it's almost like getting warmed up in the batting cage before you get up to the plate. Now you may have a different idea about to cut or not to cut. You may just say, oh, what the hell was I waiting for? Done. Fill a panel, weld it in. Okay, good. Now I know. Coil overs. Now your path is set, and you're going in a different direction. And
right.
Yeah, that's what it takes sometimes, just to get. If you're armchair quarterback and stuff and thinking about it, that's when you have every possibility in the world available. But when you're actually putting, the metal, the rubber on the road, that's when the decisions mean something.
Right.
And you're not going to make a wrong decision. Whether you do that or don't do it, either way, you're going to be okay. It's just a matter of which way you're going to go with suspension.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. So that's, and Bill's with me. He agrees. He says, yeah, just get it going, start doing something, and you'll see that life will revive and in you. And, the vision will become clearer because you've been thinking about it for so long. It's not like it's not like it's a new car to you and you got to decide what to do. You know what you want.
Yeah, no, it's true. And like I said, I kind of laugh because like I said, Well, where do I start?
Bill just asked, do we have to get in the car and spend a few days with him? I'd love to. That'd be great. That'd be great, man.
Yeah, well, that's what Jason had said too.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
He said we got to come up here and I just need to be kicked in the ass. And
Sounds like we need to make an event out of getting Brian's Mustang back on the road. Yeah, but you know what? It won't mean as much unless you start it off.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, it's your car, it's your investment, and you're the key here. You're the principal. So
yeah, no, it's and like I said, I just have to get back to the, like you said, it's, even if it's, I mean, I have to be working towards that or working on that with that. It may not be physically touching the car at the moment, but it's just got to be working to that. If it's dragging the parts out of, I mean, like I said, I got the whole rear and the back of the shed, they're all set, dragging that out and having it set, start setting that thing up.
That's like I said, do something, set that rear up on stands and, strip it, paint it, get that ready the way you want it. Just you work on sub assemblies, and then it's just one thing at a time. Like Chris always said to me, he was always amazed how I could see the car finished before I even started it. And I said, well, yeah, I have a vision. I said, now that vision might change for a multitude of reasons. It could be parts availability. It could be, I might do something and say, oh, I don't like that, and then have to change it. I said, there's a lot of reasons why things change, but he never sees that. He never sees the car that way. And I said, yeah, well, I can see almost any car finished 5 different ways. Whether I can accomplish it or not is a different thing, but you got to have a vision. And and Bill, that's a good idea. He says, get a Mustang model kit, lay it out on a table, use it as your guide. That's I don't know how that would work. Yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I got a cool Mustang kit. I think it's a 68. It was a special series they came out with, and it's like a gas ronder kind of gasser.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I never built it. I should do it in Highland green.
Yeah.
I don't know.
1 year off though, but yeah.
Teardrop hood scoop.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Love the teardrop.
I just saw today Steve Magnante posted his Fairmont, his funny Fairmont that he built with the Hemi in it. He put injectors on it, and he took a picture from inside the car looking out the windshield, and I was trying to figure out what the hell kind of hood scoop he had in there, because you could see the injectors, but then you saw like grill work. It's a teardrop hood scoop that he cut for the injectors to come through. I never saw anybody cut a teardrop hood scoop before.
Wow.
But he did it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So he must he must have like 12 or 14-inch stacks on it.
Yeah, he's got tall ones. He's got tall stuff. Oh, speaking of that, the other thing I want to tell you, I noticed it yesterday. I couldn't get to it fast enough, though. On Adam 12, they were in a boat yard. They even taped over the name of a boat.
Did they really?
I couldn't.
Wow.
As soon as they went past it, I couldn't get the camera fast enough. I'm like, shit. I got it, and I was waiting for them to go back, but they didn't. Yeah, they even taped over the name of a boat.
God, it's so funny that, when we started talking about that, and actually I can't even tell you the other day when I was so ecstatic to come home to watch Adam 12.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's good.
It was so funny, and I thought about it, but they only have it here. It's only one time. It's only on at 6.
Here it's on at 5, from 5 to 6. That's it.
Yeah, it's 6 o'clock here on MeTV or whatever.
Yeah, we only have it one time here.
Yeah, and they don't show, and sometimes, like you said, they used to show them in the morning or afternoon and then evening or whatever. They run it twice, but
yeah, today was the Lincoln where they stopped the guy with the drugs in the thing, and that was taped over.
And it's so funny. I mean, I started, like I said, watching other shows, and I noticed I was watching what was the other one? Cannon. Was it Cannon?
Oh wow, Robert Conrad.
I think it was Cannon and Barnaby Jones. I was watching. I stumbled across.
Emerson, yeah.
And man, all that stuff is all. I mean, all that. I guess they didn't. I don't know. And even at the end of the show, it says, vehicle sponsored by Ford Motor Company or whatever. Yeah. And I don't even know why they block them out still.
Well, it was probably the other vehicles that were blocked out. Like, with Adam 12, Chrysler sponsored them with the police cars. So everything else was blocked out. Well, actually, no, they weren't, because like I said, the Challenger was blocked out.
Yeah.
I mean, that was maybe.
And then I started thinking, I was starting to think maybe it wasn't done then, but done now.
Why would they do that now, though?
Well, for whatever copyright reasons or some kind of political. I mean, something.
You see the name on the police car. You'll see the Chrysler or Dodge name on the police car, just not on the other cars or both.
I don't know, because I was like, I can't. Well, other than, like I said, because
you know what, I got DVD sets, and it's like that on the DVDs too.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So I think they filmed it that way. Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, I said, I've never noticed it. Of course, I wasn't looking for it back then, but I was just like...
Yeah, well, it went by so fast, you didn't notice. Yeah. Now that you know it's there, it's like finding FJs. Like, they're everywhere.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, Ray.
Yeah.
Another fun-filled and exciting.
Yeah.
I found a chase piece yesterday.
Oh.
And it's 124th.
Oh, sweet.
69 Camaro. It's got stacks on it.
I thought that was a Barracuda for a minute.
Yeah.
It looked like a Cuda.
Yeah,
Camaro, nice.
And it's can you see, 1 of 500?
Is that how you know it's? How do you know it's a chase piece? Because of wheels?
Because it's got the gold wheels.
Right.
And it's got the gold trim.
Right.
So actually, it was so funny. I was at Walmart early Saturday. Was it Saturday morning? Sunday morning. Early Sunday morning. Went in, and there was another guy there. Right? And he had picked this up. He had picked the car up, and he walked around. He walked by me, and I saw it, and I was like, damn it, he got the chase. So he walked by, and I went through and was looking at the other stuff, the other cars and stuff. And he came back, and he sets it down and went over and picked up a monster truck,
Nice.
And so he walked out, and so I came and picked it up.
Like a raptor.
Picked it up, and so then I started thinking that maybe he wasn't a collector, and he was in there buying something for a kid's birthday party or something, You
scooped in like a hungry bald eagle.
Oh yeah. So the funny part was, so I get done, and I checked out, and I'm walking out to the car, and this guy runs across the parking lot. This other guy, and I know he's a collector, or I don't know if he's. Well, I shouldn't say I don't know 100%. I think he's a seller. I don't think he's really a collector. Say. But he runs across, and he goes, "Did you get the M2 Chase?"
Oh.
And I was like, yeah. And he goes, "Which one was it?" And I said, "Oh, it was the Camaro." And he's like, "Oh man, I must have just missed you. And I said, dude, if I told you that some other dude had it in his hand and put it back down, and he's like, what? And I was like, I guarantee he probably bought something, was buying something for a kid's birthday party, you know, and he figured the kid would, he bought it because it was a 69 Camaro.
Right.
But the kid doesn't know that. The kid wanted the monster truck. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. It's the, that designation you said, the two, what did you call it?
M2.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the company that makes, that's the company.
So I've never seen their stuff.
Yeah, they make they do 124th and 164. They do 164th also. They do the small ones. I don't do a lot. I mean, I have tons and tons of 124 scale.
Is that a foreign company?
M2,
where are they at?
Where's this thing? It says someplace out in California.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, Castline Inc.
Castlight slicks.
So, but the M2 stuff, I have some of it, but they do, well, they actually do a lot of the, you know, the 50, like this 57 Chevy Gasser.
Yeah.
They do a lot of stuff like that. And the problem I have with the stuff, I don't know if it's I think it's overpriced. But you know, they go through and they do that, which looks great. But you know, it's the small wheel. I mean, they don't
Underwells. Yeah, okay.
You know, they don't have. You know, the wheels are small, and they don't. I mean,
the
they don't even.
One,
they don't even roll.
Should be the real one shouldn't be. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the wheels barely roll right.
It looks like they're too far inboard almost.
Yeah. So, and if you figure, and if you take like a Hot Wheels gasser, I know this is a little bit, but I mean, you know, the wheels.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the rolls, and it's real rubber, and you know, it's just
nice.
Even, and that's a premium car, but even like the main line, the dollar cars, they still have the wheels.
Yeah.
And they roll the
right.
So I mean, that's the problem I have with some of the M2. It's hard because, like, you know, a dollar car from Hot Wheels, and they want $7-8 for this.
Yeah. What are you gonna do about wheels and tires on your car?
I have the Pro Stars, Bob Glinton Pro Stars.
Okay.
And I have like what is that? 15. They're 15 by 10s. That's the only other problem. It's going to be tight. I got to open it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And they sell. I have not bought yet. I have not bought it yet. But they now sell that. I don't want to say mini tub kit, but they have that kit that you can move the rear frame rail. You know,
right.
Cut. You know, you cut and remove, and you can get the tires. Before it wasn't, you know, that's why I was going to go with the coil over whole thing, you know, the whole thing. And that's why part of me is like, well, I don't have to go that far. I just have to do a little trimming.
Yeah.
So, but I like to I love my Pro Star. I mean, I used to run, actually, even that, I was really happy because I have a set of, I had a set of Shelby, 67 Shelby wheels on it, and then I really love, believe it or not, I had a set of Magnum 500s that were painted. They weren't chrome.
Okay.
They were that gray and with the black centers.
Right.
And those, to be honest, I'm not a chrome guy to say, so I was never really into that
No,
kind
the
of
Magnum
fancy.
5s are cool. On your car, even aluminum slots would look nice.
Yeah.
Or like a daisy wheel,
Mm.
like from two-lane blacktop, the American daisies, those are cool.
Yeah. I had a set of torque thrusts.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember me telling you, I had a set of torque thrusts that were
Magnesium.
magnesiums.
Yeah.
And my dad set the fertilizer bag on them.
Yeah.
And it ate through. And
Yeah.
I'm really surprised it didn't like blow the house up or something, you know?
I have a set of wheels. They got to be a Ford bowl pattern. It was like 5-on-4.
Hmm.
And it's a 5-spoke wheel, but they're flat spokes.
Really?
Yeah. I wish I could use them on something, but I can't. And they're pretty freaking cool. I'll have to see. I got the wheels in the next room, but they're kind of half buried. I should. We'll see if I got a picture of them, and I'll send it.
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah.
find it.
I have. I had a set. I have. I also have. I can't remember. For a really, really short time, and I still have them because I took a picture when John was talking about them. But I have a set of Kragers with the spinner on them.
That's cool. Great look.
And that was old school. I mean, it's old school to its finest, right there.
Oh yeah, doesn't get any finer than that.
Yeah. And but the problem was it's a mismatched set. They were the ones that were on the front were drilled correctly, and then the other one had that stupid
unilug
washer thing.
Very popular, so I can fit anything.
Yeah. And I had that, and actually the funny part was I had sold that set to somebody. He had put them on a what's that dune buggy?
Myers Banks, yeah.
Yeah, he had put it on his dune buggy, and he got upset, or he brought him back, and because being two different wheels, they were two different years, I guess, or styles, that the way the Krager part was you could, if you really looked hard enough, you could see the difference between the two wheels. They didn't match, you know.
Bill was reading my mind. He said the other wheel that looks good is a Keystone on the Mustang.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I had a set of those on my car years ago, and I never thought they looked right. They always seem to look right on Chryslers or Fords.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Like I said, actually it's funny because I had just dug out my those Magnum 500s, the painted ones.
I like the Magnum 500. It's a great wheel.
And I didn't realize they're actually really kind of hard to find.
It was the only wheel that I know of used by like 4 different car manufacturers.
Yeah.
You know, everybody used them.
Yep. Even my dad's '76 Buick LeSabre had the Magnum 500s on it.
Old ones. Yeah, Chevelles came with them.
And
the Chryslers, the Fords. Yeah, it's a great looking wheel.
Yeah, I laugh when I look at the old pictures of that and realize that they had those Magnum 5. I mean, that was, like I said, that was kind of crazy.
I'm looking at a picture right now. Let me go grab it. This is my buddy Pete back in the day. He had a Roadrunner.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
He's got the 6-pack hood scoop on it.
Yep.
This car had on the fender, the idiot that owned it before him, the guy was a garbage man, and he was a pillhead, and the car had this big white capsule that said Roarer 714 on it, right on the fenders. It's like, why don't you just advertise?
Wow.
Dope. So Pete said, yeah, compound that right off. But I remember the Magnums, they came two ways. Like they came either fully chromed or they were black and with trim rings.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I never knew why. I was always curious why they'd make them both ways.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, the ones that I had, they came off of it was a Ford, what was that?
Torino?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a Torino and it was black. They were, painted, and they had trim rings.
Yeah.
And I took the trim rings off and I just painted them. It was like a gray metallic-y paint or whatever, but I did it like a flat, like industrial. It was industrial gray or machine gray with black centers, and I put. Then I had the caps were just regular. I wanted to put the Shelby, the snake in them, the Cobras in them, but I think I just had the regular blue caps on them.
Yeah.
And I had taken, and I don't know what I did with it. I had these, can't remember the company, but they were like 7/8 thick ass chrome long lug nuts.
Wow.
That were on it. And man, like I said, that was probably the best, or that's what I liked the best, because I had the style steel wheels, the GT wheels.
Yeah.
Even I kind of even liked when I had just the steel rims. I painted them black with a trim ring on it. It was nothing fancy.
Okay. I was thinking about that before, and I really think the Mustang of that vintage is probably one of the only cars I don't like with that wheel combination. Like a lot of cars put on black wheels, chrome lug nuts.
Yeah.
Ring or no, and it's a good look. I don't know. On a Mustang, I think a Mustang to me needs some kind of a mag wheel.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of cars you could do it. A Roadrunner, a Duster.
Yeah, a lot of cars had it. Just a steel. You look at the Chevy 2 or whatever. They just.
I've seen even my car, the GTOs, with a steel wheel and dog dish hubcap. With a red line tire, looks good.
Yeah.
But the Mustangs, for some reason, kind of like a Camaro. I don't like a Camaro with just a plain colored wheel either. It's got to have a styled wheel.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, but hopefully, like I said, my Pro Stars is, even though they never made it on the car.
Okay.
I bought them afterwards, and
it's definitely an 80s look.
That's
they're a good looking wheel.
But I love my Pro Stars.
Yeah, definitely a good looking wheel.
So
yeah, Bill said a lot of Mustangs had baby moons. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I have seen that.
And I had I can't remember what year they were. I did have hubcaps. I did put, they were it was like, it looked like a factory mag, but it was a hubcap.
A friend just dropped me off a set of 4 Le Mans hubcaps the other day. Like, it's kind of like that style hubcap. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. That's back when I had 14s on it. I thought it was something when you went to the 15s.
Yeah, right. Now even try and find those tires.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the funny part. I was looking at a buddy of mine had just got a new Bronco, and he's putting wheels and tires on it, and they're like 22s or something, and I'm like, holy shit, and
Yeah.
it just looks kind of fun. I mean, and it still had a lot of sidewall, you know what I'm saying? They were like 33s and a halves or something, but they were like, I guess maybe they were 20s or whatever,
That's big.
And I started laughing because I was like, man, if back in the old days, if you had a 15 with those on it, you would have like, 14 inches of sidewall on it or whatever.
Yeah, crazy.
That's crazy. That's like looking at the old Scout out there.
Yeah.
It's got 15s and 35s on it. And
the rim looks small.
Yeah, it's like the rims are nothing. It's like 18 inches of sidewall on the thing.
Right.
That's crazy.
Well, we did an extra hour tonight.
Yeah. We did a lot.
I have to go raid the fridge.
Yeah, I need to get ready, and hopefully I've already had 3 text messages saying don't run my car tomorrow.
Oh, now they're on to you.
Yeah, well.
Tell them, sorry, I don't see my texts.
Yeah.
Run the card. Jeez.
That's the only other thing, man. It's getting crazy. And like I said, people are still spending money. I guess they all figure it'll eventually work out or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows?
So have you freaked out yet from being retired and all this shit going on?
No. My wife is. She's the one freaking out. I said, listen, it is what it is. What am I going to do? Go back to work? I could, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, you want me to do that? And she's like, no. I'm like, yeah, okay. I said, it is what it is. Big deal. So what? We'll survive. I really can't let it bother me. I can't.
Yeah.
Because I go nuts. So I'm not going nuts. I'm enjoying it too much.
I bet.
I really am. It's just nice doing what you want to do when you want to do it. And, sometimes, I hit that afternoon lull where I'm like, wow, okay, I've done a lot now. Like, I almost feel guilty sitting down, but you know what? I try not to sit down in a chair before 4 o'clock, because at least at 4, maybe I'll look at the phone, look at some social media, because I know I got an hour till Adam 12 comes on. So I'll watch a little bit of the news, and then I know from 5 to 6 I'm watching. And then when that's over, I shut it off and I get out of the chair again. I'm gonna go do something else.
Did you fix your pool pump?
Yeah, I bought a new one.
Oh, yeah.
Put a pump in the motor and installed that, how to replumb it with PVC, but got that all done. Yeah, that's all taken care of. Everything is cool. So I got to get back to pressure washing. I'm pressure washing the driveway. I saw these. I'm looking at Craftsman makes it and Works makes it. It's a handheld. It looks like a handheld drill, battery powered pressure washer, 350 psi.
Oh yeah.
And they come with a long wand, a real short one for doing plants and multi-attachments and all. You can do a soap bottle. And, they're not obviously as strong as a real pressure washer, but I'm looking for just doing spot touch-ups on the deck or when I wash the FJ to get up there. And the Craftsman one's 149. It's ace. Everybody, even on Amazon, it's the same price. The Works, the price changes depending if you're on Amazon or what. I don't know how solid that brand is. Same pressure too. I was hoping though that the Craftsman, it's a 20-volt lithium-ion. I was hoping it would be the same battery that's in my Craftsman. I have a couple Craftsman.
Oh yeah, but it's different, right?
I don't know. It probably is different, but because I don't want to have another charger.
Right.
So I don't know. Thinking about one of them. Because instead of dragging out the big pressure washing, you just take that thing out and do little spot touch-ups.
Done deal.
Done. Yeah. I was going to buy an electric one. I know that they suck, but I wouldn't be doing big jobs, just little jobs.
Yeah.
This looks kind of nicer because it's even more portable.
Yeah, that does, because same thing. I dragged my big one out when they got done doing the patio when they did the patio down, off the deck.
Yeah.
Clean all the dirt, get everything
Right.
cleaned up. And I noticed until the grass grew and the dogs, were bringing in, and I was like, man, I'm not dragging that thing out again.
That's it. I learned from having the manifolds crack. Even if I stored it right, now I drag it down the steps. I store it in the basement.
Yeah.
And now, so to drag it up the steps, I mean, it's got to be like it's staying out for a while.
Yeah.
When it goes back, it's staying back.
Yeah.
Because then, I'm running the fuel stabilizer through the motor and, get the car ready.
Oh yeah, it's a whole procedure putting it away.
Oh, yeah. And once it's away, I mean, sometimes I'll take it out like every 2 years.
Yeah.
I can get 2 years. So, because just humping it up the steps is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
All right, Ray. Well, I'll let you go because I know you got important things to do tomorrow.
Yeah, actually, I do. I got to go have breakfast or lunch with my buddy and pick up that money. So,
yeah,
that's going to be a biggie. And then, so for Lewis Lee, Mark Greene from Cars Yeah, the guest tonight. Of course, Matco Man Brian and me, Motormouth Ray, and Bill, who's in the cloud with us tonight.
Yeah.
What do we say, Brian? What do we tell anybody who may have that crazy idea of what they might want to do when we leave the place? What do we
Don't follow us home.
Unless you got Mustang parts.
Unless you want to get dirty. That's right.
Yeah, right. All right, Brian.
All right, Ray. I'll be in touch. Take care.
Will do. Let me end
Take
this.
it easy.
Okay. All right.